Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hold on to your hats when the big man runs like that. The reward at the other end. Bill Murray loves it, and Connecticut up by 7. College loose. Noel comes out of the press. Noel dribbles, and he lays it in. Count the basket, and Kansas State wins it. The Wildcats are headed for the Elite Eight. What a game! And give Elijah Martin a lot of credit. He's running the break now. Weatherspoon with a shot fake. Martin, three-pointer. Down! Rick Barnes needs a timeout. They are jumping at Madison Square Garden. The other way. Stripped to the ball. Foul UCLA. Hurrdat and Campbell. It would have counted had it gone, and Gonzaga survives. They're going to the Elite Eight in a thriller.
Man, hopefully that didn't give you PTSD last night, DB, when you watched Gonzaga draw up that play, and it was Salas who just does that little turnaround dish 3-point shot.
Hey, I'm afraid to use PTSD for people that actually suffer through it, so I apologize early. That is not my thing. But your boy watching this game was like, OMGZ. Off the easy. Like, it was just, I mean, these were my two teams, and they're in the same region in the Sweet 16. I knew I was going to be screwed one way or another. So in the Hurrdat Sports bracket, I took UCLA, but I'm not going to show you because we got a long way to go. I have Gonzaga in my ESPN one because these were the two teams I could not figure out. Now, I still hate Gonzaga's point guard play. I do. It gives me the willies.
Well, and it wasn't fantastic yesterday either.
And they turned the flipping ball over too much, kind of like K-State, but we'll get to them in a sec. But, man, I like the fact nobody really likes them. They're like, they got all sorts, they're kind of warty, but they're good enough to like, man, you know, it's like you're getting ready to go out on a date. They're like, man, when she's cool, she's really cool, right? You know, it's like that's kind of how I think of it.
You know why people don't like the Zags, right? They always seem to
they
choke
don't get it
when they get to the end,
yeah.
And so that's why everyone just writes them off. And then all of a sudden, as you said, they beat UCLA, which the second half performance was incredible. I mean, Drew Timme had 36
after
points.
the 13, after they pushed it to 13?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that second half performance was incredible by Gonzaga. And then defensively, they're just getting stop after stop after stop. And Mark Few's defenses are not, I would actually say, aren't really known for that. But in this game in particular, they really got down and dirty on defense.
And I get it. Listen, UCLA doesn't turn the ball over. But when you only turn the ball over 6 times and you get all the live ball turnovers that Gonzaga had 16 turnovers and found a way to win.
Well, and UCLA couldn't rebound.
Oh,
they could not get a defensive rebound.
And the travesty of it all, you know, I'm a hoops junkie. Jaime Jaquez is going to like disappear and we're going to forget how good he is.
No question.
He doesn't really have anything to show for it.
He is going to be the younger brother of Drew Timme.
Gosh, hey, Shane, and how about Joel Arenzi? So, listen, he has some, I almost said something I shouldn't have said. He has some Nostradamus in him.
Big word.
Yeah, I almost said something different.
No, we're good. Keep going.
No, I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let it go. I don't know if this listening audience is ready for it. We got into this thing where he's like, man, I was talking with some of my partners, man, and I was like, who's gonna be the better pro? Because they both have flaws to their game. Who would you take, Timme or Noel? Right? Timmy's undersized, plays below the rim, doesn't really handle it well. You know, Noel undersized, doesn't shoot it like some small, you know, like he has some flaws to his game, turns the ball over a little bit. And boy, both those two last night, and what we talked to Brian Edwards, I thought it was the best game on the slate on paper. And K-State, Michigan State did not disappoint. It was amazing.
That may have been the best game of the tournament.
How about pick a storyline? How about the stones of your owls? I go back to about a month and a half ago, and you're like, I wish you wouldn't have sprinkled in Marshall the same week because
Put
you
him
were
in the same breath.
But, and I mean, I don't love to defend you, but I will this time.
Oh, thanks.
You were talking about a couple off the radar, non-mid-major teams that you felt like could make some noise.
Made the tournament.
And here, listen, FAU couldn't give a what. In case you haven't figured it out, they have no idea that they're not supposed to be here. So at this, I mean, you could just see teams like that.
And they like to shoot the three. They can chop it from downtown.
And I know when Tennessee got up 7 or 8, maybe, they can suffocate you, right? And it's
good defense.
FAU was finding a way to get stuff.
Fell.
Tennessee drives Micah crazy. We definitely need mornings with Micah. This dude was on a roll last night. Like, he just said, sometimes he makes me mad. Like, I can't remember what I checked him on. I go, hey, man. And he's like a foot from me on the couch. I say, hey, man, wait, you trying to get choked? Like, what? Is there a problem? He said, no, I'm good. I said, hey, man, I need eye contact. This dude shot me the quick side eye, and I can feel the tension. So I kind of had to laugh it off. And because that's one of those things, you know, I'm constantly trying to take self-inventory. Right. I'm like, man, am I just being hard? Is he tired? He did have track practice. Like,
Wait, so were you being hard on him?
I don't know.
Because of how he was reacting to Tennessee's play?
I don't. So that wasn't what pissed me off. Like, he said something about
rooted deeper than that.
12 seconds before that, where he acted like he was beyond reproach again. But he was just going all in on the way that Tennessee was playing. He had me in and he has these like great one-liners, right, about like these guards and stuff. And Caleb had gone to go get some ice cream. So, I mean, he had full front stage. And he's real casual, right? Lapped up in a blanket. He's just watching hoops and just these one-liners. I said, man, we have got to do mornings with Micah. Like, we did.
I'm in.
Drew down the dude.
You do not have to convince me.
Dude, the dude is hilarious. Like, he's been here before. And he looked dead at me and he goes, man, that's on you guys, man. I do the same thing every morning. Who says that? Yeah, but he does, right? He just goes to school, right? He's like, that's on like, you
give
guys,
me a call,
man.
Give me a call.
But holding to, and I should say holding. I mean, Tennessee's a terrible offensive team, but 55 points in a comeback win, man. FAU, and look at the line tomorrow. FAU's getting their respect.
Only 2 points, right?
They are getting their due.
Little shocked by that line.
It's right. It's right. I'm telling you that's a good basketball team. That line is absolutely right.
Yeah, you say that, but I saw some possessions last night where I'm like, they are not going to enter.
But Tennessee's elite defensively,
and I'm with you there.
They're like,
and K-State isn't.
They're elite defensively,
but K-State is the better team. No, I think by at least 5 points in this game.
I don't know. Exactly. Whoever that little kid.
But hey, FAU, I ride the owl train. I've been hooting and hollering from the very beginning. No, going back to what you said about
you brought up train. Shout out to Anthony Rizak, another offer yesterday.
Yeah, nice. Army.
I call him the A train. That's why he just stays on track. That is the A train. Shout out Anthony Rizak.
Ever make a stop? Nope. He just keeps going.
He's a stud. He's a stud.
Would you take Noel or Timmy after last night's performance?
I don't know, man. I feel like we need to call Joel, but there's not a snowball's chance. And heck, he's up.
Nope.
My man is in Louisville living his best life and watched a fantastic slate of college basketball. And I don't.
Stop laughing.
Stop. Hey.
Stop laughing.
He hit me with a Glory reference the other day that flew under the radar that I was in tears. I love me some Joel Lorenzi. His DM last night.
Well,
take his DM last night came in at 12:26.
Well, he knew you were up. He's like, DB doesn't sleep.
Oh, what a day, man! Can tonight deliver? And by the way, I love our lineup.
Really, really nice lineup today. Shane did great work.
He did. I had to. Did I compliment him on group text with us, or did I just say good job to his face? Was it? Did I compliment him in our group text?
You did, but it was also in reference to him compiling literally every soundbite from spring practice yesterday.
Dude, that was sick.
I mean, he has.
Oh yeah. That wasn't our group
50
text. I go, hey man, that's
50 sound bites.
I was like, that's pretty sweet, man. Like good job.
Marquise Noel or Drew Timmy. You either take Drew Timmy because he's a winner.
I'm going with Noel, even though I love. Listen, you know how I feel about. Timmy.
I like guys that know that they are the best, and that's Drew Timmy. He sits down after a game, and he's like, yeah, you ask other people questions because I know you're going to pepper me with questions. Meanwhile, Noel, I like a lot because I think undersized point guard play isn't the end of the world in the NBA.
Yeah,
because he can create for himself. Drew Timmy cannot create for himself.
I'm with you. I'm kind of along those same lines. I'm taking Noel because I like his toughness. He's always going to.
He twisted his ankle yesterday and acted like nothing was wrong.
He's always going to be there. He just.
How about the elevation he got too when he twisted his ankle?
Listen,
like that's about as high as I can get off the ground.
He's always going to, and he's used to playing against bigger guys, and I'm taking Noel. He was incredible last night. Tang had quote of the night. He said, "Man, they did more coaching than I did." But it's amazing what happens when you love one another. You know that's tugging at my heartstrings because
good coaching.
I'm just like, if you're for me, let's ride. Dang it,
Broncos country.
I don't even like the Broncos. But last night, all I kept thinking of watching those games was there's an old school Master P song, and it's called Bourbons and Cadillacs. And he's like, this is for the bourbons and the Cadillacs. It's like big time, right? It's like for the OGs of the OGs. That's what I felt like last night's slate of games was. And now we have a Friday night. And we got the local team going. We've got a team that a lot of people can be in the Final Four in Texas. I mean, we have some sexy matchups, right? Can it deliver like last night though? I hope so. They get the biggest. So two of the bigger spreads, 3 actually, 7-7 and 10, 9.5, or today, or for Friday slates.
Yeah, I think
it's not built for the competitiveness of yesterday, which the biggest line as it closed was 4.5. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Yeah, if you were just a college basketball fan, had no interest in a certain team, yesterday was the day for you. If you want to watch the best teams play, it's today. You get to watch Bama play today. You get to watch Texas and Xavier play today. You get to watch Houston play today. And you get to watch Creighton for those in town today. I know that the Princeton matchup is not really one to brag about, but also, I say it a lot, don't sleep on your opponent, especially in March, because it's not the first time that Princeton is a double-digit dog.
Yeah, it's and I mean, we saw 15 make a run before recent, so I think if there's any recency bias going on, it means you better wake up. But Coach Mack stays dialed, not to steal a line from my man Tristan Alvano. I'm dialed!
Is that how he says it too?
Man, listen, he's a nut job. Every practice, I'm going to miss his energy. Yeah, he was a dude.
I bet you could just hear it out of nowhere, too. He just kicks a long one, and he's like, nobody can touch me.
You know the greatest thing about Magnum TA? My man would take snaps at quarterback, and like want to run the trick plays that the other teams did because he thought he could outrun our team. Like this dude would get in and get busy.
You know what?
He's
who else has that
he's
confidence?
a nut job.
You know who else is just as crazy and has that sheer sense of confidence?
What's that?
The guy that sits right next to you.
Yeah. Pretty irrational.
You're speaking my language.
Dude, he's great. Like
I would take the big hit and then that would humble me.
Yeah, he's like he's out running track, man. Good on him. I love my guys. Anyway, 9.5. I don't know, man. It seems like a lot, but here's the thing, and you can always check me. Listeners do it all the time. People on Twitter, and it's okay as long as you're not some sort of condescending prick. I'm cool, but I think I have some recency bias in my head from watching Princeton in the Ivy League tournament. Maybe I think they're better than they are. 9.5 seems like too many.
In a tournament game, it seems too many.
But here's the reality of it, though.
At this stage,
they have they have zero answer for Kalkbrenner.
Most teams have zero answer.
Like zero. But they space the floor so well, and I worry a little bit about who's going to. So you know what? Could the and I'm not saying he is now. But could the preseason best NBA prospect for Creighton be an X factor? I've asked this for 3 weeks, right?
He shows up when it matters.
Tonight to me seems like a Kaluma night. I've watched. I'm not sure. While they don't have an answer for Timmy, I think Kaluma has the best matchup. I just don't know. I just never know what I'm going to get.
See, I think Princeton's going to double a lot on Kalkbrenner, and they'll be
scrambling a ton.
They'll force Creighton to make their shots. And if Creighton's not making their shots, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a sweat.
Everybody says that, but that's basketball. Is that too low hanging a fruit, or is that just how it is? Because Creighton's going to have to miss a ton of shots for, Princeton to win. I'm like, no guff. Right? Well, you guys say guff. Yeah. I had to look up guffs. No kidding.
I meant more from the stance of if you take away Kalkbrenner, if you make him uncomfortable, Baylor Shireman's going to have to make threes. Ryan Nemhard's going to have to make his shots again. We know Trey can make his shots when he's open. And then, as you said, Kaluma is going to have to do his job as well. I don't like when Kaluma puts the ball on the deck, though. I really don't. I want him to be running some back cuts and finding a way to not have to dribble to get to the hoop. So if you're taking away the best player on the floor, which Kalkbrenner can still do work, even if two guys are on him, because he is, I would put him up in the elite category for passer in college basketball. But all in all, I think it's a Baylor Shireman game. I think he needs to make his threes.
Hey, Jays fans, how does that make you feel? By the way, my buddy, he was asking me about one of our mental guys that helps us out at Westside. He was asking me about Doc Widman. I was like, oh man, he's fantastic. Whatever. And I said, hey, what do you got going? And he goes, hey, I'm flying out. I won't get it. Well, he's a lawyer. My buddy's a lawyer, and he goes, hey, I'm flying out, and he's big time. He downplays it. He's on a lot of these commercials and stuff. Hey. I'm not going to pimp his law firm. And I go, wow, man, so many jets are leaving today. Like I said, jets, right? Not like flights. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got invited. I'm just going to hop on. I'll be in Louisville this weekend. And so I asked my other buddy who does a lot of work with Silverhawk, which is an aviation company. I'm like, hey, is this kind of a thing? He's like, oh, yeah. He goes, I think between the people driving 10 hours, right? It's not
crazy.
No. I mean, Dallas is 9.5. When we did that,
and Denver, it's 8.
And we didn't think it was that bad, right? So between the people that hop in the car, the people that got the cheap flight to St. Louis and drove the rest of the way, which is
smart.
Yeah, not bad, right?
Very smart.
Right in your wheelhouse.
It's only about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from St. Louis.
And the people that could afford to just hop on a plane, between the two of them, they think they're going to get $5,000 strong for Blue Jays fans. Does that seem right?
Based on how you talk it up to be, yeah, it does. It shouldn't feel that way.
5,000 in Louisville.
Out of blue shirts.
They quiet as kept though. They do travel well. Like I don't care. I mean, love, hate. I don't. I know some. The rest, the 98% of the rest of the state geographically doesn't give a what. But man, they travel well.
Well, if you like a professional sports team up here, you have to travel to go watch them play. So I don't think traveling is all that crazy for this group.
No, and I'm with you. But you've been listening to me all week. You know the game. We're talking Princeton and the draw. You know the game that I think that I think Vegas is missing on.
Yeah, it's the 1 seed. It's the overall 1 seed.
You love them.
In the NCAA
I
tournament.
think this one is messy. I really do. And it's Bama.
San Diego State.
And San Diego State. I've been giving you the stats all week.
You have.
Right?
I think it's crazy that 10 guys on that team average double-digit minutes.
Yeah, and 9 play 16 minutes or more. 9 have started or played in 33 games or more.
Let's remind the audience, we're talking basketball, not hockey.
Yeah.
Basketball.
That's a lot of bodies.
It's like CYC basketball. Oh, 5-minute mark's up. Let's change everybody. Let's put the next 4 in.
But do you know what my real thing is? It's a big, strong, mature team. This isn't some first-year folks. It's some old heads. And it's a grown man's game. 7's too many, man. I just think 7 is
more right than wrong when it comes to these lines. So I'm with you. I'm gonna ride you here.
You know what we need to consult? The guy that doesn't even gamble, Joel. That dude is in fuego, and he just says things on a humbug. Listen, man,
I think in a lot of cases, yes.
I like.
Andrew, why are you doing that? Hold on, Andrew, why are you doing that?
Oh, he doesn't like when I call him out in the morning.
Oh, man. Well, how about, I can't even remember what I said about a month ago. I can't, and he goes, hold on. I'm not just about to let you say, I was talking about DePaul.
Oh, yeah, because you were talking about, was it UConn or Villanova's, like, games down the stretch?
Yeah, and he's like,
maybe it was Marquette.
He's like, man, I'm not just going to let you do that.
You're not just going to skip over DePaul.
Again, you got to go back and catch the Glory reference the other day, though. I was in tears.
We're talking to Mike Schaefer at 8 o'clock. 8:45 is Kyle Franko, who is with the Trentonion, which is a unique name for a paper, but great for the area, talking Princeton.
Yeah, let's go
get it. We will talk the opponent, the enemy for tonight's game. 9 o'clock is Mike Sautter. He has kind of been all over the place. He started this week with high school baseball. Hit up spring practice, has been following AAU rosters, and he's got like a nice spread. If you were looking at for what type of cheese you wanted, Mike Sautter could have probably hooked you up with whichever one you wanted. And then speaking of cheese, we'll talk pizza with Matt Vrzal.
Yeah.
Not just pizza.
And there is a programming note, right? We moved Schaefer to the chunky hour. He wanted a little more. He wanted a little more time. And we're like, hey, you do 8 every week if you want.
Which is great for us because now we can continue discussing college basketball and spring practice. Michigan Lance, hold on the line. I know you want to touch on the last game DB just talked about. It's Coffee and Cream here from Hail Varsity Club.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
You want me to answer any kind of Instagram stuff I see on this? No? Okay, gotcha.
Welcome back. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We are happy that you are joining us on Friday, Friday. It's a good day, and it's a day that we are talking not only Sweet 16, college basketball, but spring football as well. There were some thoughts going around social media yesterday about coaching styles and things, so we will get into that as well. We have a great list of guests. I'll read them off one more time, and then we'll get to Michigan Lance. Mike Schaefer at 8 o'clock. Kyle Franko at 8:45. At 9 o'clock, Mike Sautter. And to close the show, Matt Vrzal. We're also playing Dog Eat Dog with DB at 9:30. If Mike Sautter doesn't want to get a total beat down again, maybe
He's probably still mad about. He's probably still mad about last week. We'll see if we can win somebody else some money.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably though going to want to play until he wins.
He is competitive.
He is a competitor. Let's go to line one, Shane. Michigan Lance here to touch on San Diego State basketball. What's up, Lance?
Wait, what?
Hey, what's up? What's happening, fellas? How y'all doing this morning?
SDSU. Hi. Hi, Michigan Lance. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Well, hold on, real quick. I got to give you 3 quick shows, BB, to watch since you're on this show watching binge. Number 1 is BMF. It's on Stars.
Yeah,
hey, man,
it's a Mafia Family.
Yeah, Black Mafia Family, my man.
I've looked at it.
BB, it's a good one.
Okay.
The other one, kind of stemming on that, is Snowfall. Hey, man, it's the right time to watch it because you can binge everything. You don't have to wait for seasons. They're in their last season. So, good time to start that as well. So, and I'm going to give you a movie.
Is Snowfall the one with
Air?
Is Snowfall the one with Franklin?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So on my FYP page, Andrew can attest to this. There's 3 things that constantly pop up.
Impractical Jokers.
No.
I've been seeing that a lot too.
TikTok. That's my ding dong son that's been watching Impractical Jokers, so it's on my YouTube library. But on TikTok, it's either recipes, these snippets from movies.
Clips.
Are like movie clips, and so I keep seeing them over and over, and then like home hacks, like do it this way, like that
100%.
That's like the 3 constantly popping up on my FYP page. So I've seen a lot of clips of Snowfall. I think it's like tough movies because I've seen like.
That's exactly what they are.
I think so. What's the one? It was like 5 seasons and everybody loved it. It was like the Bootleggers. It's Irish and
Irish.
Man, I love the actor.
DB. That's really good. It's Boardwalk Empire.
No, but yes, Boardwalk Empire does.
But that's a good one.
That's the crazy guy that's on Con Air that they just
that's with bootlegging and stuff.
No, something boys. Wait, is it boys or brothers? They're overseas. It's like there's docs. They have accents. It's probably like.
Are you talking about like Peaky Blinders?
Yes. Peaky Blinders. That's on my FYP page every 5 minutes with a scene. That looks good. Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. I haven't got into that. But I have heard about it. I haven't got to that one yet.
And the one with Forrest Whitaker. And
Frank Lucas. Godfather Harlem.
Yeah, that's on my Shawshank. I show you every day.
You guys are insane though, with listing off actors knowing the show.
I'm sorry. Let's get to SDSU. What's up, buddy?
Hey, you know why San Diego State is like my my team, man.
Omaha.
That. Well, see, you would think because Agueka Rope is there and Omaha South's finest, but it's actually Brian Dutcher, the head coach, wasn't his predecessor, Steve Fisher. Both of those, obviously, Steve Fisher was at Michigan. Brian Dutcher was his assistant at the time and helped with the Fab Five. So, yeah, man. So I'm always connected with San Diego State because that's pretty much Michigan West.
So, you know who you would love. I saw Coach Chubbuck Jr. He was at the All-Star game, the little guy's All-Star game the other night with a couple of his staff. You know what's really underappreciated about him? He loves kids. He was on the phone real time talking about John Tanji to a coach. That's his own business.
Okay.
So he's pumping. He's pumping up Tanji. He's talking about right cell. He was like, I can't wait until Friday. I just want to see a Guck with San Diego State. Like quietly in the community, he has done a lot of work with a lot of kids that he has an affinity for. Man, I'm team Chubbuck Jr. all day, every day.
Yeah, I've heard about him since he was an assistant with his dad.
Yep.
I'm with you on that. Like, I don't know him, but from what I've seen and heard, in Omaha, he's an Omaha guy.
Yep.
And he's pumping those guys from Omaha. He didn't coach Wrightsell. He didn't coach Tanji, but he's an Omaha guy. And he's going to promote those guys, which doesn't make sense that those guys didn't play for the Mavericks. Like that still doesn't make sense.
Hey,
but
do you know who you would be in lockstep with? Oklahoma Tyler.
That?
He is so mad at the local recruiting.
It doesn't make sense. You can literally, you're a mid-major. You can literally have 8 Omaha kids just from the city because they're all across the country playing D1 basketball, major basketball, or a little bit higher. You can literally have 8 kids on that team right now, and you wouldn't be where you are. But they want to go and get guys from Minnesota and South Dakota, and man, I don't want to hear. Hey, don't get me with they have Frankie Fiddler and the kid from Prep. Man, that's 2 guys. Like you can build an actual team off of 8 guys. There's no reason you should have 8 guys from Omaha on that roster every year, especially when you got Nebraska basketball trying to come up with Hoiberg, and then the big dog Creighton. Like, take the leftovers. They're all playing across the country, but they can't play in their own city. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think Crutch knows that. He's going out and hitting the local scene now. Year 1, I want to give him a break, right?
And I'm biased because I love Crandall. I love Coach Crandall, and I love Crutch. So I'm gonna let it play.
Andrew. Okay, I'm gonna let it play. But let me tell you this. You know how many offers they should be giving out to Omaha kids, whether they're going to come there or not? They should be first every time on a kid before Creighton and Nebraska.
They were first on Jaden this year.
Jackson.
Yeah. But he's a what year is he?
He's going to be a senior. He's 24 with Caleb.
Oh, going to be a senior. I got you. Yeah. He's out of Bellevue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He plays on a Lob summer team.
Yeah. It's a small sample size. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, offer it up. Yeah. I mean, you want to get kids from
You know what I mean? What do you got to lose? You know what I mean? What do you got to lose? And the same thing with Nebraska. We'll see. Is Hoiberg going to – are they starting over again, like, with new guys next year? Like,
I don't think he has to.
Sooner or later, you got to build off of something.
I know. I think he's got to we'll see. Right?
You know what I mean? Like,
I know they're going to be aggressive in the portal with a couple of guys. I think one should hit here pretty soon. I don't think he's going to end up going to Nebraska, but they'll be aggressive.
Hey, maybe is that what Nebraska needs to be, like a portal, a basketball portal school? No. Okay, so you would like them to develop.
You supplement with the portal. You don't supplant.
That's how you feel Nebraska basketball should be.
Yes.
Okay, because there's some programs that should be portal ready, because you know what I mean, like, because you're probably not going to be able to build up. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, it's free agency.
I like his current staff, though. I'd like to see him get a chance to develop a couple of good high school players, and then supplement with the portal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. So Creighton, hey, let's see if McDermott can get, if he can get that Elite Eight. There's a next crop of coaches I talked about. I think it's Ed Cooley, McDermott, Brian Ditcher out of San Diego State, my guy out of Miami, the coach, DB, you say his name better than me. But
Larinaga.
Yeah. Hey, man, those next group of coaches
I always say Capone and Larinaga. That's what I like to always say instead of Noriega. Right. But anyway, that's
there we go.
Deep for some.
Drink champs. Little Nori, Nore.
Good stuff.
Andrew, good to have you back, man. Hey, I'm glad you're getting in the mix. DB Sharon, letting you go down and have some fun with Nebraska football.
What do you mean? Nice he told me he was going. He doesn't need my permission.
I got my permission slip.
Hey, I listen.
DB was. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can tell the truth.
Hey, DB was so mad and jealous that you were down there. I was like, look at DB being nice, letting somebody go instead of him getting all the glory. Next thing I know, Andrew's the one telling, yeah, I'm out, dog. Go ahead. You stay here. Hey, sit down. No, man, you sit down. All right, hey, man, I got connections too. Go ahead, Andrew. That's what I'm talking about. Pump your chest out.
Hey, thanks, Lance. I appreciate you. Biggest supporter.
Oh, man.
More CNC next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
You know, football's kind of football. Everybody's new here, coming in with a new staff. And, you know, my teammates have been real welcoming. You know, it's been great just working with them. So it's nothing too new, you know, just learning a new offense with the coaches and, you know, just learning everything.
Sounds like Billy Kemp, one of the new wide receivers on Nebraska's football roster.
Been quiet early a little bit.
Has been, but I don't know if he can really boom this early either.
Yeah, without QBs. Well, I don't want to assume.
Well, when
QBs
media,
aren't really throwing.
Right. When media was present at practice yesterday, quarterbacks weren't throwing. Now they were running drills, but none were throwing. What I did find interesting, and first spring practice, let me give my initial thoughts. I thought it was really well put together to say it first, right? To put that out there. I thought they had structure. It was focused. Yes, it was drill heavy, but I didn't notice a lot of lollygagging. Everybody was moving on a sprint. It seemed as if the players were locked in. Now, something I said yesterday, and I hate making stories. I hate developing storylines that may or may not be there. But I also think at the same time, Matt Rule doesn't do anything by coincidence. It doesn't just land on coincidence. He has a thing set forth prior to the start of practice. No position group was with their friends. Like you saw linebackers with receivers, with DBs, with tight ends, like in the same group. And at first I'm like, interesting. Because when they go to a station, say they go to Rob Dvorak's station, right? Well, he's obviously teaching defense over there for the most part. Mm-hmm. But when you have a tight end that is there too, I thought, again, here I go. I'm thinking of more things like, wow, one, with all the position changes that Rule thinks about or potentially alludes to, maybe that's why you go about doing that. Second to that, maybe it's hey, we're a family. We develop this family mentality. You can't just be with your group the entire time, your people. It's time for you to branch out and be family with everybody. So I thought about that too. And then lastly, as you know, DB, football isn't just offense and defense. Yeah. All of it translates into one thing. Footwork is relatively the same. If you're practicing footwork with a defensive coach, that's going to benefit you when you get back to your true position. So I actually felt that if that was what Matt Rule was thinking about, good on you. I'm happy I was able to figure it out. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably looking way too deep into
I kind of like that. Listen, I mean, you're talking to a guy. If you want validation, I'll be honest, right? But I talk to guys all the time about power positions because I think there's a couple guys on our staff that can cross coach positions and even flip-flop different sides of the ball. And I always talk about power positions and being able to get in a 3-point stance and where a 2-point stance can evolve into a 3-point stance and even a 4-point stance just based on the same original starting point from a power position. So I think there's tons of crossover. Tons of crossover. If I'm a running back, as I get up, if I'm a running back and I get, my feet are shoulder width apart, I'm in my 2-point stance, and I want to get in my 3-point stance, and I want to get in my 4-point stance, my feet never changed, right? Like, it's the same sort of core power position. So I think there's a lot to that. I also think there are times where we're putting your body in positions that it's not always accustomed to being are pretty advantageous to prevent injuries, right? So I kind of like getting out of your comfort zone. I know Stanford trains a lot a lot of schools train that way a lot more now. So I think I'm with you. I don't think you're reading too much into that at all. I was pleasantly surprised, and I told this to Coach Barthel the other day, right? I mean, to his face, because, and it's weird, right? I had to catch myself because I gave him this hug, and he's probably looking at me like, what is wrong with this dude? But I love, I obviously love the university, right? I love Nebraska. And I think I know what that, I'm just using running backs for an example because this will lead into the point that we were getting at, which is one of the reasons why Schaefer wanted to come on at 8 and not the smaller segment, is I said, this running back room is in need of what I think. And I said, hey, full disclosure, man, I don't really know you like that. I gave the Berean reference, right? I just did my homework. I tried to ask around. I look at your resume. I look at who you've coached, how you've coached. I mean, he's looking at me like this dude's a psychopath, right? But he'd just gotten back off the road from coming from spring break. So I think he's too tired to tell me to go home. I'm just like, this room is exactly what you need, what they need. They need you, right? And of course, I'm partial to running backs because I've said this, right? We're kind of prima donnas. We can be babies. We're a little high maintenance. We're a lot like wide receivers. And I'm biased, right? I want a guy that could coach me. Like I was the worst, I think, because I was immature and I was good enough to be really good, not good enough to be great. And it took somebody like investing in me to see past all the character flaws to get the best out of me. So that's what I want for people. That's why I love Coach Solich, right? Like there's a true reverence there. And so when I watch him, I'm like, man, they need you. They need discipline. They need guidance. They need to know you care. They need to know that there's a baseline. Deep down, they want to be led. We all do.
And not just you, but this room. What do you strive for?
Well, I mean, it's
for perfection.
Yeah, you want to be I was going to say the excellence of execution, but better word because it's smaller and concise. Perfection. You want to be the excellence of execution. And so I was messing with Husker Wave yesterday on Twitter. I don't know his or her real name, but he's just retweeting a video. And the minute I saw that machine, Andrew, as God is my witness, all sorts of butterflies came out.
Like bad butterflies?
Like anxiety.
Like sick to your stomach butterflies.
Anxiety. Because you know what I felt? I felt like, oh, shoot. If these guys aren't ready for what that piece of equipment entails, they're in trouble. Like, they're in big trouble.
What does it feel like running through that?
It's miserable. I can't describe it. This isn't hyperbole. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm going to keep it 100. That machine for us and that group for that stretch has so many funny stories that were miserable that it's unbelievable. First of all, they kept it on the grass field. They never put it in the what was formerly known as the Cook Pavilion. It was always in the grass. So you knew when we had to hit we called it the gauntlet. When you had to hit that machine, number one, it was going to be on the second practice of a two-a-day, or it was going to be out on the grass, which they never flipping cut. Coach Solich was, I can conjure this up like it was yesterday, because there would be this anxiety that hit the backs the minute we went over. Wherever it was left was where we went. So if we left it in the corner of the grass, hey, jog over to the gauntlet. And they never mowed around it because Coach Solich didn't want it moved. We had to move it. You wanted it to face a certain way, we had to move it. He'd leave it out there in the rain.
So it rusted.
The coils sucked. It was brutal, right? And I've told this mini version of a story. I got kicked out of a drill. He put his foot right in my left cheek. Just get out. And I had an AJ Allen moment. Third time I had been through. I was hurt. It hurt my rib cage. It got me in like the right testicle. I didn't know how to do it. And all he kept saying was, come out of the back end, come out of the back end, come out of the back end, come out of the back. He just kept saying it over and over and over. And I'm like, this man is crazy, right? I'm on my third time through. I'm watching. I'm not going to put other guys out. Like they can they can comment on how hard it was to go through. But it didn't matter who you were. Lance Lewis, Corey Schlesinger, Brian Schuster, Jeff Makovica, Clint Childs, Lawrence Phillips, Amon Green. Amon is like 6'1", right? He's long. Do you know what we ended up calling him going through the gauntlet?
Amon?
Yeah.
What'd you call him?
Amen groin. Where did we get Amen groin from?
Oh no. When those things would swing back.
Yeah.
And he was too tall
it
the machine.
We would be like, Amen groin.
They couldn't raise those bars.
Because he was long and he was tall. And if you didn't have good pad level, the machine is a nightmare. And that one looked brand new. I watched the arms over and over. Didn't give.
Boing. Right back.
And you know what? Coaching is about managing failures and teaching.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning a new skill set. I'm not burying AJ Allen over that. I'm like, bro.
I'm not burying AJ, and I'm not burying Barthel.
Listen, I watched a guy run for 2K that did not like that machine either.
We'll continue the conversation with Schaefer next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
We want to know what we're doing. We want to know what we're doing and why you're doing it. And that's in everything. When you're herding that big of a group around sometimes, guys go to drill, they just run through the drill and they just do it. Really big on making sure we do things deliberate. They know why they're doing it, how it applies to them on the grass, and how it's going to benefit them on the grass. So the more they hear that verbiage, the more they understand it, the more they see it on tape, I think then you turn it from thinking about it to instinct. And when you get a guy going off instincts, they play better.
Continuing the conversation that we went into the break with DB, providing some of his thoughts about just that machine and players that don't really like to think back and remember those moments.
I'm not going to put him out there. Great. I love him. And first of all, I'm glad he's listening. So hello, shout out. You're my guy. We hang out when we can. He gave me here. I'll let you. You don't have to say the word he said, but you can say the emoji.
Hate that bleeping thing. DB, you get it. Laughing face emoji.
How about right?
Yep.
Anybody that has ever during that era, and Coach Solich would smile, and he had these teeth. He reminded me of like a skull, because he was super yoked, and he would smile, and I could see the tightness in his face, and he would just pat the machine. And it's like, man, OMG, here we go. And I swear to goodness, to this day, I'll even say it sometimes during a broadcast, you have to expect to come out of the other end, because that's what he would teach you. Don't hope, don't pray, expect to come out of the other end of a tackle. And, he'd say, don't blink. Don't be a blinker. Like, keep your eyes open going through contact. Like, if you're pad level, you want the top of your shoulder pads to be where the top arms are. You want your thighs to be right at or below the bottom of the arms, and you have to sprint your ass off. If you're timid or you're high or you're lolly. Did you see the other drill where the tight ends and wide receivers had to go through it?
Oh, yeah, the wide receivers hardly made it.
Yeah, you're getting stuck.
And I asked you yesterday, I said, how far do you think I'd get in that machine? A third of the way, 2/3 of the way, all the way through?
One of the toughest guys I know physically, pound for pound, Abdul Muhammad, on Twitter yesterday, he tweeted at me. He goes, man, just look at his tweets on Twitter, because he knows. So when people were down on AJ, I'm like, are you guys being serious right now?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't move my needle one bit. There are some great players that have had their egos burst and ruined over that drill. And it's not just the machine. It's not like the magic machine. It's what it takes to get through it, because it's painful unless you commit to it. And you have to do it a certain way or it cannot work. You can't half-ass it. You can't go in standing up. You can't have good pad level. You can't hope to come out of the other end. And the reason that I loved watching that film, and I said it earlier, I'm like, no judgment here, right? Like, that's ruined many a man. And remember, they're learning new behaviors real time. Real expectation levels. What was the quote we just heard? We're going to be intentional. Mm-hmm. There's some intentionality to it. I watched Coop do a drill where he wanted good contact every time, and they did it over and over and over.
Yesterday, he said, hey, we're not Nebraska's defense. We're going to be tough. Like, we're not going to have to do it.
Do you know so this warmed the old cockles of my heart, right? He said Coach White said it, and Super Coop said it. He said, if you can't tackle in this secondary, you cannot play. And I was like, ooh, we got a chance.
Right. Look, man, you said it yesterday too. Demanding excellence is
Schaefer
never
ready?
Something. Yeah, he's on standby. But I want to just say this before we go. Demanding excellence is never something a coach will have to apologize for, and reaching for excellence is never something that a player should ever avoid doing.
Yeah, we had to give him a big segment so he can sound off. He's got the fantastic beard going.
I touched on that yesterday.
So here's the cool thing, though. I always wonder what his hat game's going to be.
What would you call his hat game today?
It's fire.
Fire?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes, we will.
Mike Schaefer with us
24/7 Sports. Mike J, one of my faves. How are you?
I'm good. How are we doing?
I'm good. You know, full disclosure, you're one of the guys that's younger than me that hasn't done the coverage thing as long as me, that I always tell me what to do, or I listen to your opinions because
I've told you what to do, and it's
well, I listen to your takes, and I let you just be real, because I can appreciate the approach, man. I really can.
Well, thank you. I know you guys were talking about the AJ Allen thing, and just my vantage point on it. If the idea of practice is to get better and people can fail there, it should be a safe environment. And so when there's 75 of us media people on the sidelines and everything is being broadcast, and then everything gets hyper criticized because it's just this one 20-second snippet out of a 2-hour day. That eliminates the idea that you can fail safely to get better. And that's like the one thing that bothers me anytime we have open practice. I mean, there was a year, I don't remember if it was Bo or Riley, where people were like charting completion percentage from the quarterbacks. And they're like running this drill where they're supposed to throw a deep ball into double or triple coverage because it's like the point of the drill. And I just remember hearing on local radio someone complaining about the amount of interceptions or incomplete passes. And it's like, what do you want from them? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm also someone who, you know, it was fun yesterday because I felt like you were going to get the guaranteed comments about how fresh and different and unique and everything was going to look, even though for me, it just was another football practice that looked like a football practice run by people that run football practices. So, you know, I mean, I apologize that if I'm stepping on any toes here,
dude.
But it was football is football is football is football. Like, that's what yesterday was.
Right. And I don't even think it matters that we had video of it. I think people just need to control their own response to what they're seeing and not overreact, as you said, to just a 20-second snippet. I don't even think having that video out there is a bad thing.
Well, no, I don't either. And I don't want to, you know, like, I don't have any problem with people when they're there taking video. I mean, we have Brian Christopherson shooting award-winning footage on his phone every time there's an open practice. So I don't have any issue with that. It's just that, you know, that someone's going to see something and just make an incredibly wild ass guess on what they saw.
Well, and I told DB during
Fired up Friday.
I told DB during the break, I said, you know, the reactions that, you know, we're talking about are, it takes me back to when I played. I'm like, were you ever an athlete? Like, that's how coaches treat you. Now, they want you to do it perfect. They want you to do it right. They're not trying to embarrass you. They're not trying to, you know, call you out in front of a bunch of different people. They're like, no, do the drill right.
And I'm guilty of it too, Schaefer. Like, I loved our conversation yesterday because we were texting previously, and I was totally vibing with him. I was like, yes, old man soul, go. Old man soul, go. But
that's going to endear me to the people.
Even like in relationships, I'm guilty of this, Schaefer. So you were like tugging at my heartstrings. I'm like, sometimes I just want to look and say, like, because sometimes I think if people think you're critical or you call something out that you see in order to get better, it's not the end of the world. But sometimes people are kind of offended by it, right? And I'm like, and I got to stop saying it. It's, have you ever been coached? Like, that's really what it is. It's like somebody tells you that right where you're at right now is not good enough. You accept it. They tell you if you do this a little different or a little better, you'll have the opportunity for this outcome, and you have to be able to do that over and over and over again. Like, sometimes you're just not as good as you need to be in the moment, and you got to accept it.
Yeah, well, it goes back to the idea that if every practice you have is great, you're probably not working on practicing the right things, right? Like, I mean, Andrew talked about, being an athlete. I played a lot of sports. I was never athletic, not an athlete, but you worked on the things that needed to be like that was the point of the practice, right? Like you worked on the stuff that had to get better, and it's not always an upward trend. Just like life, isn't always up. Like there's going to be downs, and
you take the bump, right?
Down.
Right. Schaefer, you throw 2, 3, 4, however many strikes in a row, right, in a bullpen session, and somebody was probably critiquing what you were doing. Did you at some point think, listen, I'm throwing strikes, right? Like, what are we? Wait, we talking arm slot? Are we talking leg drive? Are we talking? You know what placement. I mean? Right. It's like that's just how it goes.
Well, that's all, again, ultimately the point of practice is not, the strive is to be perfect, sure, but that's the point of the strive. It's to try to get you in the direction of where you're going. It doesn't mean you're already there.
Now, the other side of the conversation, though, Coach Rule has said from the very beginning, we want guys that want to be here.
Yeah.
If that's not for you, there's the door. No hard feelings. And look, we're not overreacting to just one moment, one checkout, but this staff is okay with moving on. Notice how Barthel instantly said when AJ was jogging back, AJ's out next up.
Yep,
they're with that next up mentality. So as a player, who are you going to be? You going to be Petey Jones? Right? You're going to be Petey and take the bench? Or you're going to be Brian Burlsworth, right? And fight through it.
Schaefer's the only one that gets that reference outside of me. You guys are a couple of nerds.
I hope no running backs get moved to defensive back this year. I don't know that it's going to go well for them.
Hey,
it worked for Petey, but I don't know about everything else.
Hey, so Schaefer, on a similar note, though, right? I mean, it's kind of famous now. He takes the picture of Tommy Hill. Hey, who's this guy? Who's the new guy? Like, that can't be the first time that Tommy Hill thinks that Coach Rule will act like that. Coach Rule has to know that Tommy Hill knows that that's coming from a place of love. How much of all of what we're talking about boils down to when we talk the culture piece that we start with trust?
I thought that was actually one of my favorite moments of yesterday's practice. I mean, they're in their stretching line, and he's walking around, and you just kind of follow Matt Rule because this is sort of what you do in the first practices. And I see him walk over, and I realize it's to Tommy Hill, and he gets his phone out, and I'm just thinking, like, there's a reason for this, and my guess is Tommy appreciates it because what it probably means to him is, we didn't get off to a great start, but here we are, practice number 3. Things are good. Look at me and coach. Like, I think that matters. Like, I think, we've talked about this before. You don't want an environment where when it's not going right and you're set to the side, you never get to come back in, And so I think for whatever reason, it obviously didn't start great, but there's Tommy Hill at practice. And I think that's good because I think Tommy Hill can be someone that can help Nebraska. That was, of everything I watched on Thursday, that was like one of my favorite things I saw, just because it sort of told me about Coach Rule. It told a lot about Coach Rule to me without him even having to say anything.
Schaefer, as a part of our Sports Six-Pack earlier this week, a question was asked, which previous starter is going to make the biggest leap in spring from last year? We landed on Malcolm Hartzog, believe it or not, and little did we know.
But you know what though? I'm gonna give you a little credit. I liked it when you said it, but I did not think of it before you said it.
Okay, well, there you go. So I landed on Malcolm Hartzog. DB was in agreement, and little did we know Coach White would bring him up yesterday. Would you agree with that choice as the biggest leap, or do you have someone else in mind who will make that leap?
Yeah, earlier this week, or it might have even been last week, Brian Christopherson and I were talking about our favorite holdovers and guys that we thought, had a chance to have a really good spring and really kind of cement themselves with a new coaching staff. And Malcolm Hartzog was one of our favorite people that we discussed. And I think it's because both Brian and I have talked to his high school coach. We've done kind of deeper dives on him. This is a guy that in his area, like none of them are surprised that he would be someone that would be brought up. None of them are surprised by what he did as a freshman. This was someone down in his part of Mississippi where the expectation is he's going to be a Sunday guy because there's 3 other guys at his high school before him, and his high school coach felt like Malcolm was the best. Doesn't matter that he's not the biggest guy in the world, but everything that guy does just seems to exude excellence. And so I'm not surprised at all that right away that Tony White would be singling him out, because I just think he's one of those guys that, whether it's Saturday or whether it's Thursday, he's showing up and he's playing. And I don't think we have any reason to doubt that right now. And if you've already got your 2 starting corners in Quentin Newsome and Malcolm Hartzog, or if Malcolm Hartzog is moving to safety, or if there's just some kind of position in this defense where you can kind of move him around, that's a good start for Tony as he tries to figure out the rest of that secondary, because I think there's a fair amount of questions as to what they're going to do. But if you can feel pretty good about 2 corners, that's a great start right there.
Yeah, man, I forgot about Newsome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Hurrdat and Schaefer. Hey, so Mike J, as I'm like looking at my my DMs, Mike J gets it. God bless Mike J. Schaefer. Remember when he used to be a curmudgeon on your old show? God, Schaefer gets it. Everybody loves Mike Schaefer now.
Not true.
We've been writing for 10 years. Schaefer, there's obviously a guy we love Mike J. Anyway, Schaefer, let me ask you this, because I need your ability to just put it out there. When I'm watching these guys, there's always these stories, and you're kind of you're not a wet blanket, but you're one of these guys you can't talk into by asking a leading question. So are there guys that you think can become more than just a spring story, even though they're going to be a spring story?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that someone comes out and completely takes a job or surprises you or has a great spring. I think it's easier to now maybe than ever to kind of define the archetypes of what players are going to sort of fit in that category. But yeah, I mean, there's times in the past where there's going to be a walk-on running back who's just the flavor of the month. And you're going to hear about him, you're going to hear about him, you're going to hear about him. What usually happens is when that guy is pretty young and then he doesn't go on to play a lot right away, but then he kind of hangs around. And in the case of Brody Belt, he became something. We heard about Brody Belt 4 years before he became a guy that Nebraska was putting out there a fair amount. And Brody Belt was a helpful piece for Nebraska at times. So there's definitely people that can emerge in the spring. It just becomes a question of, what are we actually talking about? Are we talking about someone that's going to be playing in meaningful moments in the fall? Or are we talking about a guy that you like in your program because his arrow is up and he practices hard every day and you can trust him, and somewhere down the line, you're going to give him that opportunity and he's going to excel with it? So I think as long as you kind of go into these things with a fair amount of, not necessarily skepticism, but willing to kind of pull some strings and see where things would fall. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people that exceed every year that are spring stories. But there's also the ones where it's like a coach sort of offhandedly mentions a name and it kind of fits a reporter's question. So then we're off to the races to write about them, and then they never see the field. That happens every year. It's going to happen again this spring. There's no doubt about that.
Mike Schaefer, Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports, on with us now here on Coffee and Cream at Mike J. Schaefer on Twitter. Mike, how important is this recruiting weekend for the future of Nebraska?
It is important. It's huge. I mean, they have an opportunity to set the framework of their class. I don't think that you're going to necessarily walk out of this weekend with like a half dozen commitments, but I think you have an opportunity to set up a lot of follow-up visits. A lot of people coming out for the first time, a lot of people that, have genuine interest in Nebraska, but are certainly being recruited elsewhere, that now have the chance to visit. And, there's going to be so much focus on Dylan Raiola. And sometimes I feel like that misses the mark of what else is going on. Like there's a lot of talent that this staff was able to bring to campus. And yes, Dylan Raiola is part of it. but there are guys coming from Iowa, Missouri, Colorado, South Dakota. I mean, you have all of your Kansas, you have all of your border states, and you have your kind of your top targets, and all of them are going to be coming in. Like, that's not insignificant. And that really has, and of course, you have your top targets in the state, in Nebraska, that are going to be coming in. You have several guys from Texas that you could walk out with commitments, maybe as early as Monday or Tuesday next week. You've got a guy in Gatlin Bear that they identified very early in December as one of their favorite wide receivers. And people didn't necessarily understand why, because they didn't realize how fast he is or how athletic he is.
Yeah, they're so
massive.
We're still fixated on like Wesco and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and so, Gatlin Bear all of a sudden is a top 40 player in the country to 24/7 Sports. And he's coming in, and I'm telling you, I think they have a very real chance at that commitment. And whether he does his Mormon mission or not, that is someone they've identified that they want in this class. I mean, so you have all of these different people, and then you have Dylan Raiola, and that brings Brandon Baker and Nathan Frazier and Ryan Wingo and all of the other sort of talent. And so what I'm really interested, and since we have someone on this show right now who will have the opportunity to report back to us about it, is how do you manage having that many people on campus? Because you're going to have, I don't think Andrew's invited, Dan. I know they already told me I have to stay outside the gate. So, I'm really interested what it's like for a guy like Caleb, because there's this huge collection of people. Is he going to feel like he gets enough time? Is he going to feel like they take care of him, that he has actual FaceTime with Evan Cooper, that he gets to have those conversations that he wants to have? Or is he just part of the car wash? Is he just part of the group that's there? I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really difficult with the big visit weekends, is how do you make everyone feel like they got something out of it? Because there are going to be kids that go there that, are going to want a lot of attention. They're going to want a lot of Matt Rule time. They're going to want a lot of time with their position coach. If you've got 20 plus visitors, how do you guarantee that for everybody? Or is it not a system where everyone gets the same? Is it, you're here, but you're not as high on the board as that guy? I'm really interested at the inner workings of how this all goes. And I think we're going to learn a lot about this staff and how they recruit with the stories that come out on Saturday and Sunday.
I think Schaefer and Fudge, we only got a minute 30. How big is it, Schaefer? Because I think you have the top. I think you have the top 4 in-state players. And for me, if I'm being honest, maybe I would swap out Danny for Carter Nelson, even though I know Carter Nelson has the offers. I'm just being honest. Proof's in the pudding in terms of production. So let's say you have
Ainsworth, we get it. I don't know why. Didn't root for you hard enough in the 90s? Is that what you've heard?
Well, I think my kiddo is the best two-way player in the state. I don't even think that's debatable. McMorris is already in everybody's top 5. Hall's already in everybody's top 5. Carter Nelson already in everybody's top 5. When you look at in-state versus out-of-state, is this a litmus test for attention?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's more about, if you're going to function with this staff, you have to be able to negotiate optics? Like, that's really, and maybe this is a parenting moment, because that's really what I've been talking to Caleb about, right? Like, do you do the dance? Do you not do the dance? Do you play the game? Do you not? How much of that do you think is a litmus test this weekend?
I think there's definitely a portion of that, but at the same time, if you're Isaiah McMorris, or if you're Caleb Benning, or you're Carter Nelson, or Davon Hall, you have options. If you go to this event and you feel like Nebraska's not that interested in you, and you have other visits set up, and you're going to go to Minnesota or Iowa or Notre Dame or Penn State or wherever these other guys have visits set up, and they are giving you that attention, that's recruiting. Like, that's how that works. And so it might be a litmus test. It might be hey, is this guy going to handle it if he gets here and he's got to work through everything else? Is he going to handle that? I mean, sure, but no successful recruiting operation is ever really won by ignoring anyone. So I think that they have to strike that right balance. They have to make everyone feel like this weekend was about them, even if they necessarily didn't get as much attention as the other guy. And there's ways that you can do that. And this staff has had big weekends in the past at different places. So I don't think it's going to come to them as any sort of surprise how they can navigate that.
Fair or foul that you think they rather probably get guys one-on-one than have these big weekends?
I don't know, because I think that you can use both to your advantage. I think that a big weekend like this is great when you have people coming in for the first time. I think once you get that and then you get the one-on-ones or their own sort of kind of visits, that's when you really grow. And so I think you kind of use both at different times systematically, but it's certainly true that those individual visits allow for the most chance of growth in the relationship.
Mike Schaefer, thanks so much for
Fantastic.
joining us this morning. Have fun following along with all these storylines this weekend.
Thanks,
All
Mike
right,
J.
guys. Have a good one.
You too. He was about to say it. He was about to say it. More CNC next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, no, again, that's why the practices are designed the way they are. You know, that we need to see everybody. That's what spring is for, right? We want to develop everybody, not only with the scheme, but to see who's going to absorb it, who's going to perform on the grass. So coach is putting them in a lot of different situations, a lot of different drills, a lot of, if you guys saw chaos, it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of chaos out there, but you got to think. You got to be able to hone that in. You got to be able to control your thoughts, and you got to be able to perform. So we're getting as many guys ready, getting as many guys reps, and seeing what they can do.
More audio from, was it day 3 of spring practice?
Yeah,
4?
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
So day 3. There you go. Because we skip Wednesday.
It was pro day.
Which pro day was interesting in itself because it wasn't very packed personnel-wise.
But you had all 30. How many teams are there?
2.
Yeah.
32.
1 represented.
And so people got to see Trey Palmer there. Garrett Nelson was there with his shirt off. And is that man a big human being? Like, holy cow, muscular.
Hey, real quick programming note, because Shane and Sasha and everybody else back at the mothership are super smart. Shane, some of those parts that get cut off because of the hard outs that are on YouTube TV, maybe those are the parts that we put out on social media for the promos.
Good call.
Right? Because I'm just getting so much feedback, right? And I try to multitask.
And good conversation today.
Really good. Yeah. And there's a lot. And so there's a couple that I was just starting to talk about Caleb's recruiting and whether it's a litmus test. So I think they want to hear the back end of what Schaefer said. And then the other one was back in the first hour where Drew Down was talking about the gauntlet. We call it the gauntlet. Clinton had a couple of other names for that machine, but we'll go with gauntlet for radio. And what he was saying at the back end of the 8 o'clock going into the 8 o'clock hour is real. So maybe those are the things that we put out on social media.
Yeah.
Right. If we have a part that gets cut off.
Talk Trey Palmer, talk Garrett Nelson. How about another returner that hasn't seen the field all too much because of injury? And that's Teddy Prohaska. How about him padded up yesterday?
You love that. So that's your baby, you talker.
I was a big fan of seeing Teddy padded up, and he was going up against one of my favorite recruits, Gatula.
Yeah.
And now they were just matching up together. But here's what I thought about it. And I'm not sure. I was with the O-line for maybe 5 minutes, right? Because I was bouncing around to different drills. But if you pair up Gatula with Prohaska, only good things are to come from that. Only good things, because Prohaska has so much knowledge, so much experience that he can pass it along to the youngin, and at the same time, he knows what works, right? He know that role model mentality that comes along with being paired up with a guy like that. Oh, I'd learn a few things. I watched Maverick Noonan do some work with Coach Cooper. He was getting talked to by experienced guys on the team. I loved how much emphasis the returners put on the new guys. But in regards to Prohaska, I was impressed to see that he was actually in pads, because I didn't think this early that we'd see him.
Yeah.
Now, he was wearing a green jersey, which means he's not going to be doing too much contact, if any contact. But for the most part, if you're putting on the pads, you're close. You're getting close.
You looked at Gatula. You looked at Teddy P. How big an individual is Teddy P?
Oh, yeah. Well, because at first I'm like, man, Gatula's a big guy. And then I'm like, gosh, the guy he's matched up against is even bigger. And sure enough, it's Prohaska, and
he's got to be bigger than 6'9".
He's about a head taller.
Yeah,
he's got a head taller.
He's got to be bigger than 6'9".
And not only is he taller, he's wider.
Yeah.
Prohaska takes up space. Could you imagine trying to run past that guy to get to the quarterback?
And I think he's starting to feel a lot better.
A healthy Teddy Prohaska goes a long way.
Both shoulders are good. I think the knee is ready to go. Like, I don't know. That's why I put him on that list of, I can't remember what the question was you asked me, but it was guys coming back that you're expecting to take the leap.
Pretty close. Yeah, biggest leap.
And I went with Teddy. Right, even though he doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt, I just think from the last time we saw him to what we're capable of seeing in the fall are going to be fantastic. Plus, he's back with Norelli and I think Ethan Piper and some of these guys are just, they're older, bigger, stronger. They're moving a lot better, and I like the big brother, little brother. Right, I mean, we're big fans of big brothers, big sisters, and so I think it's intentional that they're pairing up young and old. It's not, remember, nothing's to chance, right? There's a reason we're watching Grace and Arnold tape the last 5 days in our house, right? And
you brought that name up before.
Well, Coach Rule brought the name up about Grace and Arnold as a field safety. gave his dimensions. He said, he's not a blazer. He's a 4.57, 4.58 guy.
Who's he playing for now? Houston?
Yeah. He's a ball hawk. He was a corner. We moved him to this position called field safety. He's a point guard. He was a point guard in high school. And so my buddy Adam's with me, right? And we're sitting next to Coach Rule. We're talking about a lot of other things other than that. But all I said was, because we were talking about another player that they almost got, that they weren't in the hunt for, but because he gave him a comp and how can I say this? It gave him something to shoot for in terms of how they envision using him. They almost flipped him, almost flipped him. And I said, that's interesting. I said, just a week on the job, you got all these guys for comps, and so we moved on to another topic. So during that next topic, it was, there are these guys. He was talking about some current players on the roster. He goes, there are these, and I'm not giving up that. We're just generally talking. And he said, there's a couple guys I like, and there's this guy that we had, and I think this particular player on our roster could be a lot like him. And I was like, really? And he goes, and he started listing off his measurables and how he plays and what he likes to do, and that he was a point guard in basketball, and just so happens this guy wears number 1.
Oh, really?
Those are the things, Andrew. I need a shrink. It's like Dr. Stark. Hey, man, can we get back to lunch? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Can we? I need some help here because I need somebody to bounce this stuff off of. Is this guy playing me? Is he way ahead of me, or is it just coincidence? Grayson Arnold wears 1. He was a really good high school basketball player. They have almost the exact same measurables. And he's like, man, you guys, he's on his 5th contract. He's on his 5th year in the league. And it's like, am I supposed to share this?
Is that good? I think that's pretty good.
So my dumb butt, trying not to overdo it, waits 24 hours. And I don't send it to Lob until I'm like, hey, man, take a look at this. Because we're just finding all these cut-ups, right, online. My man sends me back the fire emoji. Right? I'm like, wait a minute. Was I just a pawn? Did I just get used? Right? So you start
questioning things.
Yeah. So what I'm doing, one of my old coaches that I used to coach with that I love a ton, he goes, hey, if in case you're overwhelmed, he just likes football, so I think he just wants to go see other schools. He's like, hey, man, I'll go with Caleb.
Hey.
Go ahead. I want out. I need another set of eyes that I trust. I need another dad that is close with his boys, that I want, hey, he's yours. Take him. So that's my struggle outwardly, daily, that I deal with.
We talk a lot about other high school athletes.
It's easy, right? It's easier, right? If it's Tyson, if I'm talking about Tyson Terry or Isaiah McMorris, it's so much easier. I can talk to Ryan and it's different because I'm invested because I love them, right? I mean, we've had plenty of sleepovers, but I still have an out clause because they got a dad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's just easier that way. Ryan's probably like, DB, man, leave me alone. I don't like you that much. Leave me alone. Or, Danny Noon, or just any of these guys, right?
But, Caleb deserves a lot of love too.
It's whatever.
But I'm not saying that, you're hurt that he doesn't get a lot of love, because that's not the case. I'm going out here and saying that, this is also a guy that, despite all his other offers, despite where else he's looking, he's a big name going to Nebraska this weekend. He's a very big name, and Coach Rule knows that. Coach is, as much as Schaefer brought up the point of, man, how are you going to manage, making everybody feel welcome at the same time? They've handled big weekends before, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think Rule knows who he wants. He knows he ranks them out. Everybody's important, but he knows his guys. We're talking college basketball next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
We really believe we belong here, and one of our teammates, Mush, his name is Madalaka, we call him Mush. He's been handling a lot of the press, and he says this is an upset to everyone in the country except for us, and I think we actually believe that. When Coach looks at us in the timeout, down 12 to Arizona, he believes that we believe that we're going to win the game, and we respond well to that.
Welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. If you have car issues, go to Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's has been in the business for over 25 years, family-owned, family-run, local business. Any car issues this weekend, make sure to head over to Dingman's Collision Center. We're talking college basketball now, and let's welcome in our next guest to do so. It's Kyle Franko, college hoops writer for the Trentonion at KJ_Franko on Twitter. Kyle, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. I'll tell you, it's a dreary day in Louisville this morning, so I don't know if I'll be doing the Ohio River Walk, but certainly looking forward to the basketball this afternoon.
Hey, that's interesting, too. How much do you think the weather, because obviously the locals, man, they'll flock. I got a couple buddies. They think they could get 5,000 in attendance for Creighton. How much do you think this is weird? This is the former player in me, though, that says – sometimes conditions can control your mentality, that it's a little overcast, the weather isn't great, that actually plays a role in less distractions, keeping folks dialed in? Or is it once you get here, you're just dialed in anyway?
I think once you get here, you got to be dialed in anyway. Maybe that is more of a factor in an outdoor sport. than basketball. But the weather was really nice here yesterday. It was warm, so you could walk around last night. But no, I just think you're here. You're in the Sweet 16, man. You got to be dialed in and ready to go. You're one of the last few teams playing, and a spot in the Elite Eight on the line.
Kyle, who do you think has the advantage today? Is it the team that's getting all the attention, America's Cinderella, or the latter, who's living up to preseason expectation and is the heaviest favorite of the Sweet 16 field?
That's kind of like a double-edged sword, because I want to say both of them, right, sort of have things they have to deal with. If you look at Creighton, you're the favorite, right? You're supposed to beat the number 15 seed that's here. And if you're Princeton, everybody is talking about you, right? You're the ones who have been doing all the interviews on national radio this week. Mitch Henderson, I think, has done more interviews this week than he has done all season. So, yeah, I think both of the teams have something to lose here. But, yeah, Creighton as the favorite, I think, is the one that maybe look like has maybe a little bit more pressure on them.
So it's interesting. Just as I'm the local yokel, right? I'm talking to Andrew this morning, and I said, hey, and we've been talking about this all since the matchup was set. And I go, yeah, I said, maybe it's recency bias. Maybe it's just getting ready for church on Sundays, watching the Ivy League tournament. I think Princeton is better athletically than maybe the national media gives them credit for. I think 9.5 is too many. And then, of course, you get fan and listener interaction. It just seems, though, Kyle, when I look at a team that is shot less than 26% from three, I think you're 9 of 58 coming into this one, and still found a way to slay the Giants. It's something other than what we're seeing. What is it about Princeton?
The thing about this Princeton team is it's very physical, right? Much, much more physical than you would think of it as a number 15 seed or an Ivy League team.
Completely agree.
And that was something they weren't sure they were going to have at the beginning of the year, because this was a group that won the Ivy League title outright last season. They got tripped up in the Ivy final by Yale, and then they lost 3 starters because there are no graduate transfers in the Ivy League. So you had 3 guys you had to replace. Those guys went to Michigan, Colorado, and Belmont, respectively. So it took them a little bit of time. And then they've just sort of found themselves the last 6 games. They had a loss to Yale at home in a regular season. They lost an 18-point lead with 8.5 minutes left, ended up going down in overtime. Yale had beaten them in 10 of the last 11 games going into that Ivy League final. And Princeton finally snapped that hex. And I think that was a big thing for them. And one thing you'll notice is that they really rebound the ball. They ranked top 15 nationally in rebounds per game, rebound differential. They beat Missouri up on the boards. If you go back and watch that game, I mean, that was a butt kicking. Princeton,
start to finish,
plus 14 on the glass, 16 offensive rebounds. This is not your average, number 15 seed in terms of physicality.
In regards to rebounding, it leads me perfectly into this next question, because Princeton's playing a team that has a player that can absolutely destroy you in Ryan Kalkbrenner, a guy that Henderson even said they haven't seen a guy like him this season. What challenge does he present in more ways than just scoring against Princeton today?
Well, he's 7'1", right? And he's a guy you could put him in the pick and roll. He's a lob threat at the rim. I mean, he shoots over 70%, in close. So he's super efficient. There's just no guys like that in the Ivy League. And then on top of that, right, he's a Big East Defensive Player of the Year. He's a finalist for the National Defensive Player of the Year. So you have a 7'1" rim protector. So I'll be interested to see how Princeton tries to attack that. My guess is they may try and spread Creighton out at times and go smaller and see if they'll, how they'll react to that, and can they get out the shooters on the perimeter, and they'll try and put Tosan Onwoma in 1v1 situations where he has a chance to attack whomever's defending him and see how Creighton reacts. Do you dig down? Do you help? Do you bring a double because he's such a good passer? But you're right, Kalkbrenner on the other end, Princeton's got to find a way to stop him, and then of course he's going to impact the game defensively.
Kyle, I hate the low-hanging fruit, but maybe it is just that, right? Princeton shoots over 40% of their shots from behind the arc. I get it, make or miss sport. What's the alternative? It may come down to a plan B or even a plan C sometimes when both teams rely so heavily on being able to shoot the basketball. What's inside? What's in the weeds for you?
Look, offensive rebounding for Princeton. Caden Pierce was the Ivy League Rookie of the Year. He's been basically a walking double-double for a month. He had a career-high 16 rebounds against Missouri in a round of 32. So Princeton will get on the glass. They rebounded Arizona by 1 in that game too. If you look at second chance points through the first 2 games, Princeton 31. Its 2 opponents only have 4. So that's plan B. Go get on. If you miss it, go get on the glass and try and create yourself second chance opportunities.
Kyle Franko, college hoops writer for the Trentonion, on with us now at KJ_Franko. Kyle, be you. That's what Coach K said to Mitch Henderson before today's game. What does be you actually mean for this team?
I think it's right. You always hear the cliche of you got to play your brand of basketball. I think that's what it is. You can't change who you are because you're in the Sweet 16. What does Princeton do well? They're physical. They're tough on defense. They're going to spread you out, and they're if you help onto their big man, their point forward, they're going to shoot 3-point shots. I think that's what that means is you can't try and do something that's not you just because you're in the Sweet 16.
Kyle, when you're taking a look at is there any indication of what's happened preceding this game, right? You're looking at yesterday's games and you've seen some of the upsets. Is that been there, done that? Is it irrelevant? When you look at the environment of the climate that's going on, does that help your team, do you think, dial in or be dismissive one way or the other of looking at these other matchups?
Well, I think one thing that's been a message this year is that the seeds don't matter as much, right? We've seen a 15 seed beat a 2 seed in 3 straight tournaments. So I don't think they came in and they were like in awe that they were going to have to play Arizona in a first round game. There's been a lot of talk of how, this Princeton team watched St. Peter's last year go all the way to the Elite Eight. And that's a school that's from the state of New Jersey. Fairleigh Dickinson as a 16 went out and beat Purdue in a first round game. Don't think there's any fear that this Princeton team has of anybody, and there's belief and there's confidence, and those 2 things I think go a long way in March, especially when you're playing your best basketball at this time.
Kyle, speaking of that St. Peter's game, it had me thinking earlier this week that Princeton doesn't seem to be getting the same type of love St. Peter's got last year in regards to national attention, and I wonder if that's because of how successful a team like FAU has been in the region below. What do you think? Do you think Princeton is actually getting the love and I'm just blinded, or was St. Peter's much more broadcasted?
I think they've been getting the love this week. I do think there's a couple of reasons for that, and it's interesting. I think number one is that you had another school in your own state, Fairleigh Dickinson, as a 16 seed, went out and knocked out Purdue in a prime time slot on Friday, where Princeton played at 4:00 on Thursday on the West Coast. So I think that's a factor. The second thing is I think you had coaching changes, right? The coaching carousel. Ed Cooley, especially in your league, right? Ed Cooley went from Providence to Georgetown. Rick Pitino goes from Iona to St. John's, and then Iona hires the Fairleigh Dickinson coach. And then the third thing is Princeton is it's a little bit of a known commodity, right? People didn't know who St. Peter's was. And then you start to do the research and you see, it's this school that's 2 city blocks long in Jersey City. And you see what the facilities look like at St. Peter's and how amazing that run is. And when you deal with Princeton, right, there is a national recognition to Princeton. There is a basketball tradition and a history there, right? You think of the Princeton offense and the upset over UCLA in 96. So I think it is a little bit of a different feel than when a school like a St. Peter's or a school like a Fairleigh Dickinson goes and pulls an upset.
I'm not going to ask for a prediction, but do you pat Vegas on the back for 9.5, or do you look at them and give pause?
Yes, I'm glad you're not, because predictions only get me in trouble, because I went out and said, Arizona's going to cover the 14 against Princeton, and then Princeton won. So maybe they'll want me to come on today and say, take Creighton to cover the 9.5. No, I think this is going to be a close game. Look, Creighton's got an outstanding starting 5, all 5 guys, in double figures. They've had a week to prepare for Princeton. Take Creighton and the points.
Kyle Franko, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Not sure the next time Princeton will be playing Creighton, but who knows, right? There's first for everything. Maybe there's a
Wow,
second for
the
everything.
Homer says take Creighton and the points.
I'm all for it.
Let's go.
Mike Sautter up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
As we welcome in Mike Sautter to Coffee and Cream, he and Uncle Ruru reminiscing because those two were thick as thieves yesterday at Nebraska's practice. Listen, if you guys feel like they've offended you, maybe you don't like what they said and there's been a little injury involved and you're like, hey, man.
Is it personal?
I'm still mad at Mike Sautter for not covering my kid. Listen, Dyer's Law, that's who you need to get a hold of. If you've been hurt in a personal injury and accident, you can count on Dyer Law. It's a team that'll provide you with help. It'll give you the helping hand you need no matter what you're dealing with. Even emotional distress, I think, is something that is worth a call. Call the Dyer Law team at 402-393-7529, or you can visit dyer.law to chat with trusted professionals. When you're dealing with traumatic things like could be stress, could be the personal injury, even if it's workers' comp, whatever it is, Dyer.law has got you covered.
Mike, good morning, man.
Great morning. Good morning.
I'm already offended. I'm calling Dyer Law.
Good morning.
Shane, 393-7529. Help me out.
Dial it up.
Hit him up. I'm offended.
That's fine. I don't know what I did. I just walked in the door and sat down.
No, I was upset at you yesterday.
My man.
Yeah.
My man.
I don't.
My man.
And maybe I need to grow up, but full disclosure,
my man.
we waited
admiring the guy's hat.
We waited to have dinner last night.
My man.
As I was trying to get dinner ready, some smoked Reuben sausage brats.
Whoa, I needed to come over for dinner. It sounded like.
Yeah, Reuben sausage brats and some burgers. Waiting on one Caleb Benning. Called him. I know he likes to shower before he eats. He's lifting a little extra. He comes out and he's like, oh, hey, sorry about that. I was talking to my man, Mike Sautter. Well, wait a minute.
My man.
First of all, he's a turd. Second of all,
who, Caleb or Mike Sautter?
Why is he your man? And that is the last person in this household that should carry weight about you being late for dinner.
I think my man is
still mad.
I think my man's a generic response.
No, not with him. Not
my man.
Listen, this dude does not like
thanks for the love, my man.
He doesn't like anybody. Doesn't talk to anybody. No. Oh, and so I'm mad. I don't know how you I don't know how you weaseled your way in, but I feel like you did.
You seem very hurt right now. You're gonna be all right.
Wow.
Thanks, Shane.
That's who we're riding with?
Hey, all I'm saying is
we're riding with Sautter.
You've known Caleb because longer than I have, obviously, because he lives in your house. But I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
I also am pretty positive I was the first person to ever write anything about him and his recruitment. And
here we go, the humble brag.
So, I don't know.
My man.
I don't know if that was.
Oh, would you stop?
He did write a good piece about Caleb last night.
I wrote it last night as I'm trying to pay attention to Gonzaga, UCLA. I'm like, I can't.
You couldn't multitask.
I
that
did.
Game on.
I actually liked. I clicked on. I just read it about 30 minutes ago. I like the piece on McMorris too because I think he's kind of misunderstood. I don't know why I've started to kind of champion him the last 6-7 months, but you know what I think I like. I don't care what his outward demeanor is, right? Because we spent a lot of time with him in the summer, and I know it can kind of be off-putting because he seems dismissive.
He's not.
He's competitive.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of riding with competitive.
Well, wasn't he overshadowed a little bit before his breakout year?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think by two guys.
That would
I think both Jordan and Hall.
I think that
would spark something on the inside for me. That would be a little fire.
I think until late in the year he was overshadowed. I think that's fair. Fair. He was new, his transfer, all that.
Fair or foul that he's Hall is too. So I don't know if that's a big indicator that he's older.
Who, Isaiah?
Yeah.
I mean, it
is what it is.
Talk to that. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't really pay too much mind to all that.
Did he spark some thought last night with the interviews? Either one of them.
I actually talked to Isaiah the other day. What's today? Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Isaiah on Wednesday night. So, but yeah, a little bit. I mean, just gut feeling from Isaiah McMorris is like he's not ready to make a decision anytime soon, and I think if he goes out to USC and they offer him, feels like That's what
And
he
and
wants.
he knows he could probably, as long as Danny stays healthy, he could probably pencil in, and he stays healthy. He could pencil in a big year.
Yeah, another 1,000-yard year, I would say, pretty easily. I would venture to guess. But that's one. And then, he just, so in the story I wrote, nebpreps.com, completely free, by the way, for people to read. So it is that story. I mean, he visited Missouri 2 weeks ago, or last weekend. Sorry,
shortly after
after Danny committed, and so he was there. And I asked him, how much does Danny committing to Missouri kind of help, the relationship? And clearly, I think that was a thing, and I think there's a little kind of advantage there from Mizzou, but he talked about Nebraska and playing Madden and 21 and dudes and stuff like that with their coaches. So I like to kind of go a little deeper on those things, but I also want just give me the guts. I don't need to write an expose and 1,000, 1,200 word, 1,500 word thing on a kid. I just don't. Like, for what I do, that's my wheelhouse.
Give me the nuggets.
Yeah, just give you the guts here and move on. So one, I'm never going to write a book. I've said this a lot. I'm just not. I was not a trained writer like that. So I'm pretty good with the quick hit recruiting things.
And you know what, man? It's easy to read. Like, if you're somebody out there that is interested in just learning something about someone, but you don't want to take a long time to read an article, your articles are easy to read.
Yeah.
You get the bulk of the information. Well, you get every bit of the information, but it's just concise.
Just give me the guts and move on, right? There isn't a need for all that other stuff.
What's the average attention span? Like 12 minutes if you're listening to somebody?
I think it's 7.
Yeah. It's 7 minutes if you're listening to somebody. What's it if you're reading? Because in today's world, we're like, hey, tell me a story on TikTok versus
10
let me
seconds.
read the article of the information you're telling me.
Let me ask you something. Put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cam Newton, put me on the spot.
There aren't 32 quarterbacks better than him.
Regardless of, just ask him.
Come on, man.
Regardless of offers, who are the top 3 players in the state?
Oh, wow.
Right? You have a draft. The coaches have a draft.
They do? Yeah.
Right? Coaches across the state.
Yeah, let me.
Who the top? I don't think it's that hard. In my
No, I would put. Well, I will say this. I like people that can do different things and not just one thing. So, I would put Isaiah and Caleb in that conversation, and I would probably put Rizak, maybe both of them. Actually.
I was going to say Teddy or Anthony.
Yeah. Teddy,
is this just because you're talking to me?
No, Teddy. No, I don't care. Teddy has a little bit more. I don't know if it's upside is the word, just because he's taller and a little longer. Doesn't he's not pitching.
And we're just talking 2024.
Yeah. That's why.
Because Christian Jones and Tyson Terry and those guys can fight out.
That's
2025.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Worry about that later. I will. That's just my opinion. I mean, that's not lineman in there or Carter Nelson or anything, but that's my opinion. I think those guys are pretty good. Also, I like Ashton Murphy too a lot.
So you know what? And both of you, and I'm not just pumping you up, and I know I've said that twice, so it may seem like that, but I don't think people were really vibing with Ashton Murphy until as of late. And you guys both liked him for a long time. I will be curious to see what happens with the Ashton Murphy buzz because both of you beat me to the punch.
Yeah. There's a reason why I go to practices in June and August for guys like Ashton Murphy to see them.
So where would you put him in the?
Yeah,
because he's following a long list of storied tradition at that school.
Yeah, I mean linemen, all that. It's. I mean, he's probably up there a little bit. He's pretty good. I mean, Teddy's the best one they've ever had at Elkhorn South. I think that's a good thing. I don't think you'll see any argument there. The best player Elkhorn South's ever had is Moses Bryant. So that's pretty obvious, right? Like,
He's
as a
pretty
high
good.
school player, he's pretty good. One guy I left out, Danny Kalin. I think Danny's pretty good too. For what he is asked to do, he does a nice job of it. So, yeah, I mean, Elkhorn South. Here's another guy that I saw yesterday. Doesn't get enough run. Noah Buster's a really nice high school football player.
He's fantastic.
And he was at Nebraska's practice yesterday as well.
I like him a ton. I'll be curious to see what happens. Like sometimes when guys aren't benefiting from other guys, like now he gets to be the dude.
Yeah.
But I've talked to his staff, and I obviously love Coach McFadden and some other guys that are over there that I've known from my Northwest days. He's pretty underappreciated.
No, yeah.
His film is kind of silly.
He plays real hard.
His film is kind of ridiculous.
He's a really nice player. I think I saw him yesterday. I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Like he walked by me. I was like, oh, that's you. Didn't know you were gonna be here. And I didn't know. I mean, Jacob Rope's another. I think that's a project, right? Like I think
I'm gonna spend the whole summer with him.
Me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, this class, if you would have told me 2 years ago that there's going to be, 10 maybe power conference guys with power conference offers from Nebraska, like in the in-state class, 2 years ago, we would have been like, okay, no way. But there's 10, and there might actually be. Could it get to 12 or 15? I don't know. I mean, that would be remarkable. It's pretty crazy now with 9. Eric Ingwerson commits to Pitt.
Hey, quickly too. He's practically my neighbor, so I'm kind of cheering for him. He lives right around the corner from us, by the way.
You guys are neighbors.
We are.
We are. Like, yeah, that's a heck of a grab for Pitt.
It's kind of snuck in. Got him.
And I think was it Stu who wrote the article that was like, it hasn't been done in the ACC, right? First to Pitt?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's it hasn't been. There hasn't been a player at Pitt from Nebraska. Know that.
I kind of just low key cheer for that family.
Yeah,
I
still want to know who the best 3-point shooter is in the family, though.
Between Eric and Kyle, Mom will get it. No, Lindsay's pretty good too. Yeah, she's pretty good too.
Yeah, it was Kyle or Lindsay was. I always kind of went there in high school about the same time.
I'll take Lindsay.
Question. Yeah,
are we using a 28.5?
Oh, how about how the kids were mad the other night at the All-Star game using the women's ball? If I had to hear about Mornings with Micah one more time, I was like, bro.
Dude, it's 7th grade All-Star game.
He's like, can we just agree? Like, are we using women's balls or men's balls for my grade? That would be nice.
I'm just saying it's the 7th grade All-Star game.
Dude, Breeze.
Yeah. But I'm just like, I'll be at the high school All-Star game tonight, Bellevue East.
I'll go watch Maya tonight.
I'll be there
6
for
o'clock.
the girls game. It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to probably because I want to watch Creighton play.
So I figure with the game, 24-minute halves, they rotate every 8 minutes, and the 3-point shooting contest, you have to plan on
2 hours.
Nope, hour 40.
Well, by the time you get out the door.
Hour 40. And I had to park in Plattsmouth the other night.
Really?
I was in the furthest corner on the southern side
of
Bellevue East.
How long is that walk?
And remember, Northeast was playing Bellevue East in baseball.
Well. Yeah, that's why. Okay.
Jam pizzled.
How long did it take you to get in?
I walked right in,
easy.
but it took me. It's a 4-minute walk.
That's a long walk. 4 minutes.
I will be
when you're going from the parking lot of a school.
Sneaky cold.
I'll be there for the girls' game. Yesterday morning at Nebraska football practice, sneaky cold.
Hey, so do you guys like working with one another? Because that was kind of cool to watch. A couple of guys that are used to kind of doing interviews on their own do interviews together.
Did we really do an interview?
The post
more of like a back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think it was easy.
Did you do you think the same things? Did you think the same things?
No.
Because he made a point about the quarterbacks.
We
And
planned it beforehand too. Like, okay, you go
Shocker.
over here, I go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
OCD. My man is like worried about what we're doing for football coverage in the fall.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Like that
It's
30,
almost
and I'm a little
30
OCD.
30 minutes of our phone call yesterday.
There were points that I had already written down, like, hey, I'm going to touch on these 3 things.
It's almost April. You should have a plan.
Stop. I don't know what I'm doing next week, but maybe that's a reflection of me.
Sometimes I don't know that.
I want to get back to practice, so I got to take advantage of the expertise, the eyes, because I didn't have it, so I'm jealous, and I'll get my fair share over the next couple.
Apparently,
5 days.
he said he was jealous too yesterday.
I didn't. I don't know
According to
where Michigan Lance got that from. I think I did say, like, I'd much rather be there, but I want to be able to have conversations, right? So,
And you've been saying that from the very beginning.
yeah, like,
Yes, indeed.
do you like the fact that they didn't go by position group? They went with let's mix it up.
Yeah, I didn't mind that, I guess. I mean, obviously they didn't show a lot, and they weren't going to. They clearly, started with special team stuff and then
Stretching,
and then they did some, little bit of positioning group stuff together.
But even still, then,
Yeah,
the
it wasn't a
linebackers
whole
weren't all
lot.
together.
Yeah, and not until the very end.
Is
like
it- is
the
this-
last 5 minutes?
Is this the first time that staff has outnumbered media, or was it close?
No, it's not close. It felt like
It felt like there was 50 to 70 media members there.
Felt like it was a lot.
Really?
No
Kind of
joke.
scattering around.
Yeah.
He's got 50 staff.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. You
Quarterbacks didn't throw a pass, so
did he
that
mention
wasn't-
that?
Well, he was mad. That was off air. Yeah, I don't think they heard on air what he was
Okay.
mad
Yeah.
about.
I just don't. We're overreacting. Like
To
nobody threw a pass yesterday in the
So-
40 minutes that we were there.
You know me. We've been together. We got to cut through the chase. No passive aggressive. What are you mad at? Because you have an agenda to say we're overreacting. Who's overreacting? Name names.
No, I don't
So
know.
we shouldn't assume Jeff Sims is the starting quarterback.
That's what I would say.
Okay,
this
well then say it.
We shouldn't assume Jeff Sims is a starting quarterback.
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Yesterday, and I have a video of it. If I can share it, I would. I guess I can later. But he was working with Satterfield on how to put his hands together properly to take a snap under center.
Okay.
He was the only one that was getting that extra attention of the quarterback group, of the 5 of them or whatever.
So can we call that a bonus and say it's pretty astute that they're at least getting that out of the way early? Because remember all the scuttlebutt when Nebraska got underneath the
Right.
center 2 years ago, and they're like,
How
oh,
do
they
you-
never get
Mhm.
underneath center.
Yeah.
They can't even take a snap.
Right.
So, like, yes, he's big and tall and, looks athletic. No one threw a pass yesterday.
Maybe he got the extra attention though, because
He also-
they're molding him to be the
Yeah,
starting
probably.
quarterback.
He also, guys make mistakes. It's fine. But, they were working on rollout, just fake handoff, rolling out. And he had to stop a little bit for that, too. It's just, so did Harburg. But let's just take a breath. Right?
Well, and he even said in his presser after practice that every quarterback, they're all even, right? They're
Right.
getting even reps. He's not favoring one over the other. And what answer are you expecting to? Satterfield's kind of cool because the way that he presents his information, he kind of jokes about what the media wants to hear before he gives his answer.
Right. Hey,
he's like, I know you want me to say
But
this,
I'm not
this,
gonna
this,
do
and
that.
this,
Yeah.
but I just got to be honest and say, we just don't know yet.
Hey, listen, what I tell you about him, though, he's the one guy that you better be secure in who you are. I don't care if you're the quarterback or you're the media. He's the one guy you better keep your eye on.
Yeah.
His delivery is different.
It is. It was just funny because he's like, I know you want this answer, but I'm going to tell you this instead.
We're all chasing Coach Rule in the pickleball world.
Yeah, well, and that too.
And by the way, it wasn't 30-0. It was 14-0.
Yeah.
Well,
30.
I
would
liked
be-
the exaggeration.
I've never played pickleball, but I'm assuming it's kind of like tennis / ping pong. And if you get shut out 30-0, that would be
Hey,
He
aggressive.
beat the brakes off of us, so
Oddly enough, our poll
I like
question
the fact
is
that he
about
said beat the brakes.
He did.
he beat the brakes off of us. So
I don't mind that.
Our poll question's about that. Who do you think will be first to take down coach? Would it be a coordinator, a positional coach, another football staff member or he'll never lose. People are on another football staff member. Can you imagine Dr. Elza taking him down? I could.
I'll tell you right now who it's going to be, because he wondered when he heard the score. It'd be Johnny Rogers.
It wouldn't surprise me that he's
Johnny Rogers. That's what you guys got to do.
Film that.
Talk to Uncle Johnny. We'll get it set up.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Uncle Johnny and Matt Rule in pickleball.
That would be fun.
I'm going to take Johnny Rogers.
Yeah, I don't know anything about pickleball. I just know it's a
dude. You know enough to know that the Iowa West Fieldhouse, instead of doing something else, made those pickleball
instead of
courts.
Adding more basketball courts.
They made that pickleball.
I do know that.
Let me get you out of here on this because we only have a couple of minutes. Basketball transfers, names hitting the portal.
Oh yeah.
Right. We're all Team Tanji. It looks like
I think everyone is.
He may be Big 12 bound. We'll see.
Maybe
a couple of the local guys should announce that they're hitting the portal here soon.
Maybe
I thought one would have already been.
Josiah Alec is one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like the little snippet on him last night.
I think I do think Josiah
North Star.
Yeah, I think Josiah and Nebraska, there's some mutual interest there.
So you got John Tanji, ton of rumors about some other guys. Obviously, Isaac Trout's been a huge rumor.
Right.
Nothing official yet in the portal. So
yeah, which I think at this point that's kind of the worst kept secret. But we'll see with that. I think it's fair to assume that he's going to be leaving, but we'll see. The other guys, I think, is just a lot of rumor. Right
Me
now.
too.
Like I don't know. Hunter Sal's played 15 of the last 20 minutes of a game for Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 and had the game-winning assist and ran the play to perfection.
It's like I told you on the phone a month ago, and I know you're in good. His dad is my guy.
Yeah.
No guarantee that he even leaves.
Yeah, no.
I was about to say a lot of people were
throw it out
insinuating
there.
that.
There's no guarantee he even leaves.
I think it's more towards the side that he stays at this point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially with the playing time he's getting and how far Gonzaga's going.
Great.
Where does he feel he'll have the most success if he is to leave?
And let's be honest.
John Tanji thing is like hot,
dude. He's my guy.
He is extremely.
I heart, and he knows it. And he used to. He poured into my little guys. We were trying.
I would hate to be his
at first pick. I'm all in on John Tanji.
I would hate to be John Tanji's phone because I am hating to be my phone right now with the calls I'm taking for John Tanji.
He's going to be a heck of a get.
Sautter, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for always stopping by on a Friday.
I'm gonna try to
fun day.
Try to get you to not be so mad.
I ain't mad. You mad? My man.
I bet I beat you in this next game though.
My man.
At Mike Sautter _ follow him there. We're playing dog eat dog next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Trivia time, but before we get there, let's talk about Zipline Brewing, because that's what I will be drinking tonight when I'm watching Creighton take on Princeton. Which one, though? I think I'm going to go with the Dope Juicy IPA tonight, because it's got sort of a candy flavor, and I'm a sweet tooth. We're getting close to Easter as well. Maybe the Easter Bunny will leave me something in my egg, right? Is it candy, or would it be the orange candy flavored Dope Juicy IPA? I hope it's that. Smooth with, hop bitterness, okay? Without it. Don't take that out of it. It's smooth. A unique take on an IPA, and it's now available all year long. If you're looking for your next choice for an alcoholic beverage, try the Dope Juicy IPA. Let's go to the phone, Shane. We have a caller to play Dog Eat Dog against Damon Benning. His name is Ray. Is this the same Ray that won a couple of weeks ago?
It is.
Uh-oh. So you have a $25 gift card. Have you picked that up yet?
I have not.
Man, good thing gift cards don't expire. But maybe it wasn't made. So you could potentially have a $50 gift card waiting for you, Ray. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Well, you got to win. And you know how to play. 3 questions and then a tiebreaker. You get the answer choices. DB does not. But he does get a Hail Mary. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's play. Shane? Who is the only 3-time most outstanding player of the Final Four? Is it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, or Jerry Lucas?
Bill Walton.
Question number 2. Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout to end the WBC championship. It was the second WBC game to end with an MLB teammate striking out another. The first was Gene Segura against what Seattle relief pitcher? Fernando Rodney, Steve Cishek, or Edwin Diaz?
Edwin Diaz.
And question number 3. One of the greatest NBA players of all time and former Creighton head coach Willis Reed passed away on Tuesday. He was drafted by the Knicks, but what Eastern Conference team did he end his coaching career with? Was it the Hawks, the Nets, or the Knicks?
Shot in the dark, Hawks.
And the tiebreaker question, Ray. How many rebounds did Willis Reed average per game in his career? Decimals?
8.5.
What'd you say?
8.5.
8.5. Thank you, Ray. Mike Sautter, what's going on, man?
I don't know. I'm just still sitting here. I don't know.
Puts back the headset. I'm going to have Shane run out and go get Damon.
I want to give Damon crap for not getting these answers right. Even though he's beaten
that's
me the
why
last time,
that's why you're
2
sticking
times
around.
we've done this.
Yeah, the last winner actually was Ray. We've given you some time to step in, and the last winner was Ray. Hey, Ray's back on the phone trying to double down after his last win here. DB,
These are good questions.
He comes in. Yeah, right.
These questions are pretty good.
Ray kicked my tail last time.
Say hi to Ray, DB.
Oh, hi, Ray.
ADB.
All right, buddy.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Shane, you good with music again? My guy, always on top of it.
This music, man, gives me the
heebie-jeebies.
I just get goosebumps because I'm so competitive.
All right, DB. Who is the only 3-time most outstanding player of the Final Four?
That would be Lou Alcindor, 67 through 69.
Question number 2.
That was like the
Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout to end the WBC championship. It was the second WBC game to end with MLB teammates making the final out versus one another. The first was Gene Segura against what Seattle relief pitcher? Was it Fernando Rodney, Steve Cishek, or Edwin Diaz? Oh, shoot, I shouldn't give him the answer choices.
Yeah,
That's your Hail Mary.
That's my Hail Mary?
Yeah.
you
Dang
may
it.
need it on that one.
It's Edwin Diaz.
I gave him the answer choices.
Dang it.
My bad, Ray.
Okay. So
Last
hopefully
one.
I won't need one.
One of the greatest NBA players of all time and former Creighton head coach Willis Reed passed away on Tuesday. He was drafted by the Knicks, but what Eastern Conference team did he end his coaching career with?
Wowzer. End? Fudge. I know in 88 or 87 he went to the Nets, but he was a head coach. So is it assistant or head coach?
I'm pretty sure it's head coach.
I just put coaching career with.
I'm gonna get it on. I'm gonna miss this on a technicality. I'm gonna say the Nets.
And the tiebreaker question, DB.
Fudge.
How many rebounds did Willis Reed average per game in his career?
Like, you want the exact number? Like with the decimal point or
Closest to.
13?
Thank you. Let's do it.
Wow. That's all.
All right, Ray, how you
Holy
feeling?
crap.
Good, bad, or the ugly?
I'm feeling the ugly. I think I know I got one.
All right, that's a good call. At least he's got one, right?
I kind of like Ray's delivery though. Ray, you want to co-host sometime when we need fill-ins or like how's your
I can fill it for you, DB.
how's your overall sports knowledge? Is it pretty good?
Yeah, baseball. We're good with baseball.
See,
Oh.
he's
All
one
right.
of us.
Well, baseball season.
Notice how he said, "Hey, I'll fill in for you, DB, anytime." Not Andrew, DB.
Well,
I feel like you'd want to work with DB, Ray, not me.
Well, I don't know, man. Ray seems kind of smart,
which is why he should work with you.
All right, let's go. I'm curious because these are hard.
Let me tell you
what
you slayed that.
Sautter, let's just
I'm
get
just
to
saying.
the answers. Here we go. What is or who is the only 3-time most outstanding player of the Final Four? Ray, you said Bill Walton. DB said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It was actually Lou Alcindor in the 60s.
Yes,
though.
in the 60s. Yeah, but it's people will recognize Kareem's name more.
He's my guy.
It is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He's a Laker. I love Kareem.
Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout to end the WBC championship. Second time a game ended. There's Shane.
Here he goes.
With MLB teammates making the final out versus one another. The first was Jean against what Seattle relief pitcher? You both said Edwin Diaz. You both are correct.
Right there.
Okay.
All right, Ray, you need this one, man. You need this one. And we have separate answers here. One of the greatest NBA players of all time and former Creighton head coach Willis Reed passed away on Tuesday.
I
He
don't
was
feel good about this.
drafted by the Knicks, but what Eastern Conference team did he end his coaching career with? Was it the Hawks, the Nets, or the Knicks? DB, you said the Nets. Our guy Ray said the Hawks. It was the Nets.
I didn't feel good about
that. Was the one I was like,
It
holy.
was the Nets. So
because I remember he left Creighton in like 84 or 85. But I do know.
And then he went to the Hawks.
This is weird.
I
I do
think, as
know
an
that he
assistant.
was like, and I'm within like 3 or 4 games. He was like 33 and 74 with the Nets.
Yeah, that's who he closed out with.
Yeah.
And then I think he went to the Kings.
Not sure after that.
I
I just
tiebreaker just for fun. How many rebounds did Willis Reed average per game in his career? Ray said 8.5. DB
This
said
is-
13. It was 12.9.
That's what I was like. I was like, what the?
full disclosure. When he passed away the other day,
Oh, you read it all.
I just went down
Oh.
memory lane.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and you know my my memory.
Yeah, your memory is outstanding. So, Ray, unfortunately, DB got the better of you, but you still won a couple of weeks ago, so that gift card's still waiting for you to be picked up at the hostess stand.
Ray's kind of my nemesis.
I'm going to get there.
Thanks, buddy. So we're 1-1, right?
Yes.
Ray's a dude.
So, yeah.
But you got to know though, like full disclosure, the Edwin Diaz thing, I would have used the Hail Mary because I wouldn't have known that. I just knew
That
he
makes me
got hurt.
happier.
I just knew that he got hurt in the WBC, and you like to stay current.
I do like to stay current. Well done. That actually wasn't the reason why, but it did have 2 tie-ins because I went with the most recent WBC, and then I, used resources.
But
to
Willis
find
Reed, you could ask me
history.
like some random fact right now about, like I know that
And
he
you'd nail
won.
it.
I knew that he won 7 games his first year as a Blue Jay head coach, right? Because I read through his whole deal.
So I had that as an option for a question.
I think he was 7-24. Sautter, Google that real quick.
But I wanted
Willis-
to find something that, because it was so fresh and I know you read about it,
I think I'm close. I think he was 7-24 his first year at Creighton.
had to make it difficult. But you killed it. Was that 3 for 3? It was 3 for 3. And the tiebreaker.
I didn't feel good about the Nets though.
Nice job, man.
Appreciate
nice job.
that.
Hey, we're talking to Matt Vrzal to close the show.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh yeah. We watch a lot of film together. We try to get all the guys in together. You know, we got class and stuff going on, so you know, guys be coming in all throughout the day and just making sure that they know anything they messed up on, maybe the day before or something like that. Just getting the mistakes fixed.
Here to close out the show with my guy, Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers. We are so happy you've been able to join us on this ride this week. Anytime you want to catch us, it's 590 ESPN Omaha. We are on KFOR from 9 to 10 in Lincoln, live on Twitter, live on YouTube. If you miss any part of the show, you can go back and listen. Apple, Spotify, Google, I'm told now. I know we run into some issues, and you guys let us know, which we really appreciate. Always let us know if there's something that, you know, you can't find or you can't hear, or if we cut out early, like DB mentioned earlier on in the show. I know our guy VJ on Twitter was asking about something on how to listen on his Alexa, on his kid's Alexa.
So you know what? He's right, though. Like, I don't think by command you can get 590 on Alexa.
And I almost want to say that my mom struggles with that too in St. Louis.
Because we've tried to do that at home. And I don't know what the issue is. And VJ's great. Like, I think we should try to help him out. He could easily be a P1, even though he's a huge Guardians fan. He loves Cleveland sports in general. So that's kind of a problem, but he's got good taste in food, and he's a good dude, so we keep him on the payroll.
Hey, speaking of good taste in food, let's bring in Matt Vrzal now, former Husker.
Find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt's an exceptional.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt. You know, Matt, He's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt. Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
I'll never forget that.
I forgot we had that intro.
I'll never forget that.
Matt Vrzal with us now. Matt, good morning.
What's going on, boys?
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Good. How are you? Why'd you hang up on me the other day?
I asked if there was drama, and DB said there's no drama between Matt and I today.
I didn't think so, but we did get disconnected. So I was having a bad, as you know.
No, you hung up.
No, Maddie. Listen, I didn't. I was having a bad couple of 4 or 5 days. So I was in the midst of venting, and I was walking outside because I wanted to just get fresh air, and I think I hit a dead spot.
Oh,
do you believe him?
It's not honest. It's honest, guys.
And that readout button doesn't work.
No, but I had to get ready for dinner too, and so I was kind of stressed and pissed with that too. So I was like, "Yeah, he'll call me back if he wants to talk."
4?
Well, because I thought you were going to be on your way back to the. Hey, can I?
You going to the early bird special?
Listen, man. You ever had to put stuff on slow smoke like burgers for 55 minutes? Like you got to start early.
Sounds fire.
I was like. I mean, it was 215 degrees at 55 minutes. Is that
okay?
Are you cool with that, or are we?
So you're gonna eat it. You're gonna eat it. You're gonna eat it at 5.
Listen, man. When you start pumping out some kids in the family, you can coach me on when I'm supposed to frickin' eat dinner. How about that? Okay, I'm trying, man, but you know how to take me there. Like I'm trying to behave myself. I'm not in a good spot. I had to call Dr. Stark Tuesday, and he hung up on me.
Oh,
all right.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
I'm better. You idiot.
Let it all out.
I'm freaking crying. Hey, Maddie, I got to ask you this because because I don't know who's supposed to have responsibility, and you're a big kind of pull yourself up, figure it out kind of guy. Who's responsible? Should Nebraska be like conscientious of fans can't handle it, we're not going to pump it out there, that's why we don't open practice, or which I'm afraid of, I try to tell people how not to fan, but man, why can't we handle video that comes out without practice? Should we just accept that there's going to be varying ranges, or should we coach folks up on how to handle information that comes out from practice?
What video are you in
response
to the running back?
So in particular, like like the video with AJ Allen, or going through the gauntlet.
People are soft.
No, there's no question.
I wrote that right down.
There's
written down.
There's no question.
Told XTB yesterday.
But I'm just saying, like,
there's no need for him to do that to him over and over. Get the F out of here, man. You don't get it. You don't get it. You're never going to get it. Just pay your ticket, drink your 47 beers, and go watch the game. Like, it's not – it's so embarrassing. It honestly is. It's just if that coach can't discipline that kid, then go be 4-8 again. Go be 4-8 and be pissed off about that. Or let that coach do his job, because you finally have coaches up there doing their job, and see what happens. Just try it, because the way we're doing it ain't working. So maybe this way, actually having an expectation for the kid, holding him accountable for not doing the drill that's in an acceptable form to the coach, maybe that will garner a different result. And maybe he's a little pissy because he's got problems with somebody in his room, and so now everybody's going to pay. Until that guy in his room gets his S together, everybody's going to pay.
Ooh, we're
so
fired up.
Get him right. You either get him right, or we'll get him gone, and somebody's going to take his job. If you don't like it, don't watch.
So
it's very simple.
Okay, so help me here, and maybe you're the wrong guy to ask because we're besties and we grew up in the same era, but isn't what you're describing what we really want? Like you saw firsthand that machine and the way Coach Solich would like rub it and pet it like it was his like great equalizer and how we struggled with it and we get pissed. And I mean, it's a brutal drill. At least they've got a new machine, right? We had the new rusted one that was down in the grass next to you guys. Like, some of that, man, you want in a player, right? Because a lot of guys that this fan base has cheered for, that drill, that machine has made some folks quit. At least get booted out of practice.
And trust me, AJ is going to be just fine. AJ is going to be just fine. Yep. He will be better the next day, and he will do it right the first time next time, because you don't want to go through it 3 times. Guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. Everybody's got a drill that is a man maker. Okay, you guys and the receivers had a bunch of psycho stuff you had to do. It was weird. We had one-on-one.
Yeah, you had the pit. We weren't going down there.
Everybody's got that thing that's etched in their brain. They'll remember it forever. That drill that they're doing eliminates a lot of the loose ball, fumbles, all that kind of stuff.
Not hitting the hole.
Nebraska does not have the luxury to turn the ball over. They have to maintain possession of the ball. I'm not saying they're bad at fumbling before, but if you ingrain it into your brain, you cannot put it into the ground. Chances are this machine we got cranked up that's like 14 metal spears jabbing into your rib cage as you run through. You probably ain't going to get that kind of hit in the game. So if you can get used to this, the game should be easy.
Plus, let's be honest. If he watches that back, if he watches his video back, he'd take ownership for the lack of effort.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee it, because let's be real. If he doesn't, if he does nothing, if he thinks he did nothing wrong,
bro, he was upright,
back, right? And started making excuses for his effort, then I'd guarantee he won't be playing for Nebraska this year.
There you go. Now, it at first, I think the correction was that Coach Bethel wanted the jump cut different, right? And he's a younger kid, so he probably got in his feels like, oh, this guy's being mean to me, and I'm just going to do it like he cut it, and then I'm going to run through this thing. Well,
it's funny, too, because what I wanted to say was, does he, like, I remember hearing press the point of attack before he said something has to get you off your path. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I know what Barthel's saying when he says, no, I don't want the jump cut here. I want it here. Right. Like, you know what I mean?
So, first part of the drill wasn't done right. Do it over. So once that first part isn't right, Bethel didn't even watch him go through the pegs. So then he comes back and he does the jump cut right, then he does the pegs wrong. And then he runs away because he thinks he did it right. And I'm not saying like run away in a bad way, he's finishing the drill. And then he's like, nope, you're wrong. I'm on back. And Bethel didn't like the pace that he was getting back. So now you're done. You're on the list. Next guy up. Here we go. But every guy in line, whether they want to admit it or not, was like, bet, here's my shot.
Yeah.
If I do this right.
I don't want to be that dude.
This is the thing with spring ball. An opportunity is literally every repetition away.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Coach is a little pissed off at AJ right now, so now's a chance for me to look good. So I'm going to do this right, and I'm going to run through that thing low. And I'm going to get my jump cut right. I'm going to hit the hole hard, and away we go.
Hey, so Andrew he's been talking to me almost every break about how excited he was to see Teddy and how he moved. And he was a little surprised that he was out there, even though he was in a green jersey. I mean, we may be a little too close to it, but did even Maddie get some warm fuzzies seeing him move around out there yesterday?
I did not see any tape. I'm in the wait till the game camp. I'll probably watch the spring game because Coach Martin said they're actually going to play a game. But to watch practice, and some people just are different in games, and I would just much rather watch them play in a game in a competitive situation. Like maybe someday I'll go down and watch one-on-ones. I think that would be fun if they do it, and that would be cool. Because now you're in a competitive spot, and now you can see if you're moving through a drill. You know as well as I do, there's a lot of dudes that ran through a lot of drills and looked real good at them. And then they got on the field and was like, well, that drill ain't helping you now. So
Matt Vrzal, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Matty.
Wow. Always a good interview. Always having some fun to close out a Friday.
Just never know.
For Damon Benning, I'm Andrew Rogers at Damon Benning on Twitter, at Andrew Rogers TV. It's Coffee and Cream. We'll see you next week.
Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.